instead of feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning is the best way to survive. Woke up in the morning, sleepy eyes yawning. Jumped out of bed, started the day, opened the curtains. Felt the cool breeze, the sun shining on my face. But something was missing, I needed my job to chase. Give me coffee in the morning, give me coffee in the morning. Gotta have the caffeine, wake me up, shake me up, dip me like a lassie. One sip, two sips, instead of feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning is the best way to survive. Woke up in the morning, sleepy eyes yawning. Jumped out of bed, started the day, opened the curtains. Felt the cool breeze, the sun shining on my face.
I have to remember to unmute. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, Nina says she'll be here, so we'll give it a minute and see who gets in. My notification actually went out on my phone this morning, where I didn't see that happening yesterday. So hopefully notifications are going out if they haven't turned on.
Yeah, YouTube is weird to me because there are, I'm subscribed to a shit ton of channels, like a whole bunch more than I actually watch. But the ones that I really care about, like yours, I have all notifications on, and I don't get all push notifications from your channel. I'm not gonna lie, I don't get them from any of my channels that I have all notifications on for. Occasionally I'll get one, but I got to be looking out. I got to be looking out for it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I told you a long time ago, I had to go and unsub from a lot of things, and I just did that again recently. The other day, I realized I was still subbed up to. I don't even know how I got subbed up to some of this stuff. It wasn't even true crime, and I'm like, what in the world? So I unsubbed from a bunch of that stuff, and so sometimes that helps with the notifications. Good morning, Rebecca. Thanks for coming in. Forrest, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. We are on the newer platform again this morning. Well, it's not a new platform, but it's new to us, so we're still playing around with it and learning how it works here.
Yeah, it's like when you buy a quote unquote new car that's a used car, you call it a new car, but it's been around a while, and then you got to drive it around a little bit and get used to it.
I certainly got to get used to it. There's different things. I mean, it's kind of the same, but the layout's a little bit different. I just got to remember where everything's at.
So I'm going to try out that one that All Eyes told us about last night. Gosh, I have so many tabs open right now. I'm going to have to find out. I don't even remember what it was called.
Yeah, I forgot. It's on the thing.
Yeah.
In that thread, but I was going to look into that one as well. And
Streamlabs.
Yes, I think Streamlabs. Somebody else I know uses Streamlabs, but I can't.
So I may try that out for my next morning live. We'll see. We'll see.
Because she said it's like this one. You can, like this in StreamYard, you can go through the browser. So I like that.
Right.
I don't want to download anything to the computer. Like OBS, I think you have to download stuff, and I'm not into doing all that. But we were going to compare notes on the two. She's going to test that one, and I'm testing this one, and we're going to compare notes and see what we come up with. Welcome in, Nina. And thank you for that information you sent me. I had that 118 page a long time ago, but I couldn't find it. So thank you for sending that back over to me. I'll have to pull that up to show everybody later. there is something I need to talk to you about, Nina. So look for I emailed you back earlier to say thank you, but there's something I do want to talk to you about. So I'll get up with you again here in a little while via email about that. Um, Thanks for coming in. Caught you on 12 Gauge's channel the other night. What was it, night before last? I think it was, maybe. You guys had a good show going on over there. So I thought this morning we would take a look at some more of the, our names aren't showing up, are they?
I see them.
Do you? I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Oh,
just,
then they just disappeared. They were there.
oh, maybe because when I click this, maybe, look, when I click welcome to the show.
Yeah, that's what disappeared our names, I think.
Ask us anything. We might have an answer and we might not. We can certainly try. There we go. Let me take this one down. So I'm learning, guys. I'm learning. Oh, look, my background don't even look the same like it's supposed to. Hold on. It's like, what's going on here? Ooh, okay. So I'm going to start off this morning. We're going to go over the hearings, but there was something I wanted to play. Well, there was two things, but one I want to get to first. Ann Taylor had mentioned a while back that Cy Ray was going to be, one of her experts and the witnesses and all this, and he came on and testified in a prelim, or not a preliminary hearing, but in a previous hearing, she had him come on and testify. And I just kind of wanted to watch that to get a little briefing on that for those of you who haven't seen it, and gives us a little backstory on what's going on with that. Always enjoy Engage is so laid back. Like I said, he had Frank on there again, but all right, let me pull up the Cy Ray interview, or not interview, it's actually the testimony he gave. Let me get the screen share pulled up for you guys. Get the chat. Oops. Okay. I know, Cy Ray be MIA right now. Okay, let's get this screen up. Now, Cy Ray is an how come it didn't show the screen? Hold on. It takes it a minute. Is it like a delayed damn reaction? It was. Okay. All right, so Cy Ray is a cellular data forensics guy, and he used to work in the field with like FBI and things of that nature. And then he ended up forming his own company. There's been some issues with his company in the past. Like there was one or two court cases where his stuff wasn't admitted into court, and there's been times that it has been admitted into court. So I'm not really here to dispute him, but his specialties and all that. But we're going to take a look at what he has to say here in this court hearing. Or this was actually how come I can't get when Ann called him to testify for her. Let me get my play button.
I swear that the testimony you give in this case shall be the truth, the whole
And you guys let me know if you can hear it.
truth, and nothing but the truth, and the penalty of perjury.
I do. Right. Thank you, Sue. So you go ahead and have a seat there, and then please state your name and spell your last. Cy Ray, R-A-Y. Thank you, sir. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Will you tell us what you do?
I have a handful of different jobs, but primarily for my role here, I do a lot of consulting, analysis, and evaluating geolocation data as it pertains to mobile devices.
Let's talk about how you got to that place where you, by consultation on devices and geolocation.
Okay.
What background led you to this job?
I started with a law enforcement background. I started my law enforcement career in 1995 in Arizona. Started working with the first set of cell phone records in that capacity in late 1997. There wasn't a lot of training. Obviously, cell phone technology and the use of that in criminal investigations was very new and novel at that time. So most of my early training came directly from the carriers. If I was working a case with Verizon or AT&T, I would work directly with Verizon or AT&T engineers to understand the records, what they meant, how to map them, how to interpret it. In 2000, I started a very small police department in Arizona. In 2000, I transferred to a much larger police department in the Phoenix area. When I made that transition, I took more of an investigative role. I was previously a patrol officer. That investigative role, I started with a DEA task force where I worked with drug narcotic interdictions, and the primary role there was working with cell phone records. So I had some more training experience in that capacity. In 2001, late 2001, I left that position and I went into a full-time investigations position. I started with sex crimes and child crimes. Again, using cell phone records and attending what training was available. Again, most of that is from the carriers directly. About 2004, I moved out of sex crimes and child crimes into persons crimes or violent crimes. So any type of a dangerous or violent crime against a person. Continuing to work with cell phone records and attending what training I could. In 2008, I was promoted to sergeant, and I was immediately put into a homicide robbery sergeant's position, where I stayed until 2010. Around 2004, I started doing a lot of work with cell site simulators, and that is a piece of equipment that allows you to physically go out in the field and find a mobile device. In a very brief summary, it's the ability to create a fake cell tower that is mobile, it's in a vehicle. And if I can analyze your phone records and determine a rough area that you're at, I can put this mobile platform in that area. Your phone will register to it, and I can physically track the phones. It's in the courtroom, it's in a bedroom, wherever it may be. In 2007, our agency purchased that equipment. So prior to that, I was working with other agencies looking for devices using it. 2007, we purchased our own equipment. That purchase also prompted more training. There was a company, it's owned by Boeing. They came in and I had 80 hours at that point specific to cellular network engineering, how to go out and actually conduct these surveys to understand how a particular cell phone network works in a particular area, how to replicate, how to create a cell site that looks legitimate in that area. I worked with that company for a number of years in doing that, hundreds of hours worth of back and forth working, actually going out in the field and doing this. In 2010, I had an opportunity to go to Afghanistan as an advisor in charge of an undercover Afghan police team that targeted IED cells. And again, we would look at different types of technology that we could leverage in doing that. I came back in late 2010, early 2011, and went back to the police department. In 2012, our department created a position that this was a full-time position. Now that's all I did was track phones pretty much every day, using cell site simulators, using phone records, whatever technology we could leverage. Because of the lack of training that was available when I was a younger officer, in 2007, I started a training company. At the time it was called Phoenix Training. And I created a training company to provide law enforcement training, specifically as it relates to cell phone records. I've been providing that training from 2007 up to, we're about 2013 now. I was really frustrated with the lack of software and training available to law enforcement. It's very complex and clunky, for lack of a better term. So I began researching and teaching myself how to do some basic computer programming, and I wrote a program that I could take phone records from any carrier in the United States, and I could put it in this program, and it would immediately map hundreds, if not thousands, of connections. It was pretty unique at the time. There just wasn't a lot of options out there that was doing the geolocation. There was a lot of analytics to who's calling who and how often they call that person. But specifically to put it on a map for detailed geolocation data, there was a big gap in the market. It worked. It worked really, really well. And at the time, because we were tracking phones in the field, it gave me this very unique opportunity where I could use a search warrant get phone records, analyze the phone records, come up with a hypothesis that this phone is most likely Thursday at 2 a.m. going to be in this neighborhood. And then physically go to that location to recover the phone. In 2013,
Yeah, need some Z's. I agree. It could go both ways. We don't know that he's MIA, but we certainly haven't heard a lot out of him since this, right here, this hearing here. So and he reserved the right to change his mind. So that's what we're wondering if he's done. That's all. But we don't really know what's going on with him.
our agency was assisting a lot of other agencies because we had, for lack of a better term, we had progressed significantly on our ability to find phones. I had a lot of agencies asking me for a copy of my mapping program, and I was just about at 20 years at that point. I realized maybe it's time to go do something else. So in May of 2014, I retired from the police department and I started a company called ZETX, ZETX. And we offered a couple different things. So we had the mapping program that I just described. Obviously, when I'm running it on my laptop, it can be a little clunky. It doesn't have to be perfect. When we started business, we actually hired computer engineers to come in and take what I had written and scale it to a national platform. So we offered the mapping services, which was both real-time and historical. We took that original training class that I had built and we scaled it out. So we had a basic 40-hour that would just give you the nuts and bolts of how to look at phone records, what they need, what type of records to obtain. We also started a subject matter expert course. It was one of the first courses in the country where law enforcement could actually come in and become certified as subject matter experts in this field. Did some training courses as well that we created on drive testing, so the ability to go out and scan and monitor cellular networks. Because of those two features, my job duties changed dramatically, where I found myself consulting with law enforcement daily, sometimes multiple times in a day, on cases very similar to this case, where I would have a law enforcement agency that's using our product or has attended our training that would call me for some type of review or analysis. And I've lost count. It's thousands and thousands of cases. To put that in perspective for some just general numbers, I sold this company in 2021. At that time, around 2021, 2022, the system had mapped over 2 billion phone calls in the United States. We were seeing thousands of uploads a week. We had created this program in 2014 that if any law enforcement agency in the country called us because they had some type of a crime, we would overnight them a drive test scanner, which gives them the ability to go out and do a forensic examination of cell tower networks. It was no cost. We ate all of the cost of this. So we paid for the scanners. Initially, we paid for the shipping. And the idea there is we wanted to create a national tower database that would have just a collection of drive tests. I want to say we have.
Those drive tests are super important. We have Nick Valence's testimony. He testified in Daybell and Vallo's trial on this subject, and that's also who's been talked about in the Idaho 4 case, and he will be testifying in this case. And we can take a look at his testimony here in a little while too, but the drive testing stuff is going to be super important coming in.
We have over 3 million towers in that database today that have been scanned or measured in some capacity. I am unaware of any other database in the world like it. And we use that to feed the mapping platform to increase the accuracy of the mapping. Something that we did that was very unique with our company is we actually provided an estimated coverage area. So instead of just saying this phone connected to this cell site and the antenna points north, we would give the person doing the analysis a general idea of where that phone could possibly be within a radius. We were the only ones doing it when we did this. Since then, since 2014, more recently, since about 2020, pretty much the rest of the industry has adopted, if not the same standard, a very similar standard. So the company we were using to do the drive test data is a company by the name of Rogue, ROH.
talking to Cyree for as long as she could, as long as I can remember when she first got her very first interview. If he's actively working this case still for Ann, there's a gag order, so he's not going to be able to tell her much, and we all know that. So I don't watch Lana, but I pretty much know what she says over there. But I know she's all up on some Cyree. Uh-oh. Tell me I gotta take it down. Put it
And
down.
Schwarz, Schwarz. They're a German company out of Munich. They've adopted the way that we were doing some of the ranging. The FBI CAS team has adopted that, has actually brought that tower density is what is the general term for it. And it's now featured in the CAS BIDS program. So through the years with training, I've probably been involved in training 30, maybe 35,000 law enforcement officers from around the country. We had about 650 law enforcement agencies within the United States.
Okay, so he helps train law enforcement just like the FBI does with this stuff. And if we listen to when Ann is talking, even when during this same hearing here, Mowry and Blaker were also on the stand. And Cy will tell you that he doesn't doubt the CAST report information. What they're doubting is the interpretation of the information that was given to them. And we'll see that play out as the hearings progress. And that's pretty much where I feel like Ann's going with the whole CAST data, Viz report stuff being wrong, because she grilled them, Mowry and Blaker, about how they uploaded their information into the Viz from the CAST data. Were they interpreting things correctly, from their training? So I think that's not that the information is wrong that the FBI gave them, but that they just interpreted it incorrectly. We'll see.
At some point, all of the federal agencies have used our products in their training, and I've done quite a bit of consulting internationally as well. Towards the end of that period, we started working more with Rohde and Schwarz. Rohde and Schwarz decided that they wanted to look at the ability to implement a cell site simulator in the United States. They had one for Europe. They were considering doing it for the United States. So they sent me their first one for the United States, and I worked with their engineers for about a year, testing it, reviewing it, improving it. So another several hundred hours there. I've tried to figure out how many of these missions, if you will, of going out and finding a phone or looking at phone records, and it is literally thousands and thousands of hours at this point. I can't tell you specific number, but that would be the background.
Sounds like your background is mostly in law enforcement, and then you moved into a specialty with cell phones, cell towers, drive testing, radio waves, all of that kind of thing.
That would be correct.
Through that and through the training of other officers to do this work and to use your program, have you testified as an expert in this field?
I have. If it's not 100 times, it's right there near it. Roughly 100 times in both state and federal courts.
And have you been qualified as an expert in state courts?
Yes.
No, I agree, Z. They were talking about missing stuff like that. So, missing information. So we'll have to. That's what we're going to be trying to focus on when we get into the hearings too.
In federal courts?
Yes.
How about Idaho?
Don't think I have in Idaho. I've consulted on a lot of cases in Idaho, but I don't think I've ever had testimony in Idaho.
That's your first time then?
I believe it is.
Generally, when you work, and I'm talking about when you've done your consulting work or worked with an agency to do what you do to review the records and to analyze the data, do you usually work with the defense?
This is the first time I've ever testified for defense.
Fair to say you usually are a prosecution witness?
That is a very fair statement.
I see someone mentioned that in chat a little while ago. Normally, Cyree does testify for prosecutions. This would be the first time that he testified for a defense. And so, he was probably the perfect guy for the job. I'm not disputing what he can and cannot do. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he continues to be a part of the team and what, go moving forward.
Well, here you are, and you're working with us in Mr. Koberger's case. What's your role in this case?
Trying to conduct an analysis of all of the geolocation data, at this point still focused primarily on Mr. Koberger's device, ultimately all devices, but any geolocation data, which is the ability to look at a specific area, whatever range or size that might be at a specific time, and put some type of accuracy and reliability to a phone's travel. Maybe it's stagnant when it's moving, when it's not moving, when it's off, it's on, those type of things. But specifically as it relates to network, so the cellular network or a Wi-Fi network, I am not a forensics digital guy. I don't get into cell extractions. I'm not looking at the metadata on the phone.
So he doesn't do cell extractions or look at the metadata. What's he looking at? Just the drive time stuff?
I'm looking at it very much as a network tool.
If I can make a rough distinction, you're not the person that's going to tell me who they called and which Facebook groups they might be, but you're going to tell me the places this phone went and how it was used while it went somewhere.
Kind of. Let me clean that up a little bit. I will look first at where I believe the phone went, where it traveled.
He said, kind of, let me clean that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's do it then, Cy.
How it got there, how long it took, possible routes. And then to your point, I call it cooperative data. I'm then going to seek out all that data you just talked about to say, okay, well, we have these 3 photographs, we have this piece of surveillance video, we have these 4 receipts. I'm going to overlay it with my analysis so that I can corroborate the analysis accurate. Or maybe we see activity associated with that person and the phone's not there. Does that person just not have the phone, or is part of our analysis wrong? Maybe surveillance details wrong. We don't know. So eventually I will get back to that data you're talking about, but I'm not the guy that's going to go out and extract that data.
Would it be fair to say that that's data that you would use in a final analysis as it comes in from other sources, that you're the go-to for me to understand how a phone works with a tower and how it moves between towers if the phone's in motion somewhere?
Yes, 100%.
You talked a little bit about drive test data or drive testing, and that being part of the company that you developed and part of the work that you've done. Is that helpful in understanding the ultimate picture?
Depending on the type of records we're dealing with, it can be very helpful. When we're looking at just basic call detail records, CDRs, a lot of times we're just getting connections to a particular cell site, and we can say a side of that cell site. Sometimes the frequencies that are used. Drive testing is really the only way to get a little bit more specific with where that phone may be, but more importantly.
Now, see that drive testing is so important. And that's how, when we look at Nick's testimony in the Daybell case, he's going to explain it so beautifully. But when your phone's not working, you're out of service, or it's dead over here in this area, whatever, those drive tests can give real-time accuracy of when those phones are falling off. You know what I mean?
So explain exactly what a drive test is.
Okay, so they have a device that they had literally put in the car, and Nick explains it when we look at his testimony. So, and can tell exactly where a phone is pinging from what towers in real time. So you can't say, like, I can tell you I'm 15 miles out of town, and when I get halfway down that highway, what I call the bottom, I'm going to go out of service for a few minutes. But a drive test by the FBI conducted would show that's accurate, right? They're trying
to recreate the the pinging data that they got from his phone.
Not just his phone, but in any case. Like when they did it in the Daybell case, they were able to get accuracy within so many feet of Lori's brother's movements in Chad's backyard. And from where, so if Koberger says I'm out driving around and I was over here driving around near Wawawee and I had no service, a drive time test will tell them if that's true or not, right? With the device, and it has to be calibrated. There's a whole lot of things that go into that machine, and I saw them talk about that in the Daybell case. Are you sure your machine was calibrated? And he had to go into how they do it and all these things. So, but yeah, the drive test gives them real-time information on what phones are actually doing in specific areas related to cell towers, if there's service or not. You know what I mean? So you can't lie and just say, oh, I didn't have any service over there. Well, we're going to go drive it, and we're going to be able to pull accurate information.
Right. And it's important to do that like very soon after the crime is committed, because like in Delphi, when 5.5 years goes by, do you know how many cell phone towers that cell phone companies put up in that 5.5 years?
Right. Exactly.
So it wouldn't have been accurate 5.5 years later. So did they do it then? Nope.
Right. Welcome in, Jeff. Good to see you. All right, we'll start this back up. I got to show you guys one of Jeff's videos one day on that Elantra. It's sweet.
And we can start to rule out areas we know it's not by drive testing. So just think of drive testing as a forensic evaluation of the actual cellular network in a particular area.
Fair. Are you familiar with AT&T records?
I am intimately familiar with AT&T records.
How long do you think you've been working with AT&T records?
28 years.
In our case that we're here on today, have you reviewed any AT&T records that relate to Mr. Koberger?
I have.
What have you reviewed?
What AT&T refers to as their regular CDRs, which is a report AU as an atom union. I have identified the report CT as in Charles Tom, which is the subscriber information. There's a really weird name called Locabor, which is AT&T's attempt to estimate general locations using latitude and longitude. I don't want to say GPS because it is different than GPS. I believe I've looked at some ping data from December. For the most part, that's what I've reviewed so far.
Have you looked at two separate AT&T warrant returns from December 23rd, 2022?
I have.
Now remember, these are the two warrants that she wants thrown out. Let's see what he's got to say about those.
In your experience with working with AT&T records, is it common or uncommon to have two warrants, one that relies on the content of the first in the same day?
It's not uncommon to see a small time period that produces results that would increase the desire, the need for a bigger time period of records. Seeing that entire process happen twice in the same day is extremely rare.
Now remember, she said the first AT&T warrant came back, and then an hour later, they were already requesting their second one.
The 48-hour AT&T record of Brian's call detail record. If you were to take that and do an analysis on the call detail record, how long would that take?
Depends on the analysis. So I'll qualify that answer with looking at what was put into the second warrant that shows us at least parts of that analysis to include a route that was identified. To do it reliably and feel comfortable that I'm accurate, at least 3 hours. And that's if you know what you're doing and you have all the tools at your disposal. Our arguably you could spend half a day or more doing that very easily.
To do that, do you just take these records, printed copy, and know what's on there, or do you have to do something with those records?
You would have to use some type of a mapping platform, software, and you would take the digital copy, which is typically a text file, you would import it into that program, which would then map everything. But if I'm going to use those results, search warrant affidavit, for example, there.
Sleuthy, do you think that that's because the phone was off that it didn't show? And if you're right, if so her I have it highlighted there, but problem is the results of the first warrant didn't show him in the area. So what's the justification for the second? That's a good question, because I wondered the same thing. What did they see in that first warrant that prompted them to go in and quickly get their second warrant? So it's going to be interesting to see all that come out. And I checked this morning on the docket, and nothing new has come out since we did find out we are getting those transcripts from that closed hearing. The judge is just waiting now for the prosecution and defense. Well, the clerk was going to get it all typed up, submitted to the two sides, and then they got to submit their redactions, and then it will be released to the public, which is, like we've all said, something we did not get in Delphi. But that's a good question, Sleuthy.
There's a process that I'm going to go through to confirm the accuracy, because in theory, if I'm wrong, the entire linchpin of that case is now hinged on this affidavit that I wrote. So before I commit to swearing out to an affidavit, hey, this is what the phone is doing, X, Y, and Z, there's a further process of just mapping it to validate it. In this case, there's a lot of time distance measurements that need to be performed that can be extremely time consuming. There's some ulterior issues that come up with how that phone is interacting with other cell sites that needs to be analyzed. Again, saying that a very qualified, competent investigator spending half a day just coming up with that basic summary is very reasonable.
In that half a day, you would put that record into a computer program and a map would be produced?
Correct.
What other information besides that call detail record would you need to do this analysis?
In this case, I would want the call detail records. I would want the locabor, it's LOCAVR. And I would want the regional cell tower list from AT&T.
Does AT&T generally provide that regional cell tower list inside of its record that it produces pursuant to the search warrant?
No, I would actually say by policy, they do not. It's a very large file. It typically does not transmit very well to government email. So they would direct users of where they could go online and download it.
And have you looked at this record, the 48-hour AT&T search warrant record, the return on that?
I have.
Did that include the regional tower list?
It did not.
Okay. So if you are doing this analysis, you put CDR records into a computer program, you put a regional tower list into the computer program, what does it produce?
The CDRs would show me cell sites that the phone connected to. In this case, even within the 48 hours, there's hundreds of those cell sites. So it would take a while to really look at that. The regional cell site list would show me the cell towers that the phone's not interacting with, which can be just as important.
Does it spit out product to you, or does it create something that you can reference to write your next warrant?
Depending on which mapping platform you're using, they all create some type of a map that the person doing the analysis on can interact with, and they can change things, they can save things, they can create work product. Depending on that platform that's saved.
Would that be consistent with this past draft that we heard about earlier?
It's my opinion that Corporal Payne probably is misusing some terms there. I don't see any possibility of the FBI CAS team producing a CAS draft report on the 23rd. I think he's probably mistaken that he saw some type of CAS work product, which would be this map, before they export all those results into a report. So I believe that he probably saw some mapping through a mapping platform. It would really surprise me if there was a physical report. It would be completely out of character.
In that first AT&T report, did you, or request search warrant and affidavit, did you see the request for advanced timing reports?
I did. It's in both search warrants.
Did you get a copy of that in either return?
I have not seen any timing data in this case.
In December of 2022, did AT&T have this advanced timing report?
They absolutely did.
Was it something that they could produce?
It absolutely was.
And in May of 2023, but how's it different to May of 2023?
Prior to May of 2023, only certain agencies were receiving this timing report, the FBI being one of them. What was referenced earlier about the May 23 date, that is when AT&T started offering the same type of reports. It's a little different, but it's the basic timing report to the state and local law enforcement as well. But prior to that date, state and local law enforcement would have to leverage these reports through federal agencies that had access to them.
Let's talk about the return on the second AT&T warrant. Did that have the tower list, the regional tower list in it?
It did not.
Remember in court the other day when Ashley Jennings got up there and she wanted to talk about the 3 towers in Moscow, and the judge said, please don't talk about that. Don't make me give them a Franks hearing. These regional towers, local towers, all that. I mean, I've looked into all that before, but it's going to have to, obviously, it's going to have to be another deep dive. I mean, goodness. I'm looking at the chat real quick, guys. Not necessarily it was a small piece of touch DNA. Someone could have put the sheath there. Yeah, that's true and plausible, but who? You know, I mean, if it is his sheath with his DNA on it, because allegedly it is, how did it get there? And who would have put it there? Who would have taken it from him?
It's going to be up to the jury to figure out if they believe it's plausible and if they believe it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, we saw in Delphi where the jury totally came to a conclusion that most of us did not see coming.
Well, true, and that happened to Casey Anthony as well. But with Kohberger case, there's no DNA of Casey Anthony's at her daughter's crime scene, and there's no DNA of Rick Allen's at the girls' crime scenes. There's DNA of Kohberger's at the crime scene. So every time I'm just debating, V, no, don't take it personally, please, but I don't know plausibly how the sheath could have gotten there without him knowing it. You know, if it is his DNA on there and it was his sheath, who took it from him and how did it get there? If he didn't put it there himself, you know, because she says someone could have put the sheath there without him being there. I just, you know, did someone take it from him? Did he give it to someone, loan it to somebody? But he doesn't say anything like that. He just says, I was out driving around. So it's always one of those debates, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting to see how people think about it, you know?
Yeah, stargazing is not a counter argument to that's your sheath there lying under her. Stargazing is a completely different, I wasn't even there, which we all need to see the evidence still, and that's kind of what we're listening to right now. We're hearing about the cell towers and size testimony. So the jury's going to have to decide, and it's going to be up to the defense and the prosecution to present their arguments enough, either beyond a reasonable doubt or not. This is going to be an interesting case.
People need to have a very open mind to the actual evidence and not be locked into like, don't get trapped because you have heard so much on the internet rumor based. I mean, I'm not saying that's what you've done, V, and not at all. I'm talking in general with people in this case. A lot of their assumptions are still based on the old rumors that we always heard in the case outside of what the court case is. Like, I'm talking about internet rumors of what was really going on in the town and all that stuff. So it's, going to be, it will be very interesting, but you still can't get past the DNA at the crime scene, because that's what everybody wants all the time in every case. We need DNA at the crime scene. We have it. But now we're disputing how it got there. And I find that in Koberger's case super freaking interesting, that we
Yeah.
have such a dispute about it. And if you guys watched our show the other day, what was it, Sunday? We touched on the West Memphis Three and how they're about to use new technology to try to pull DNA out of those shoestrings that was used to tie the boys up with, and the MVAC process will be used. I always wondered, why didn't they use the MVAC in the Delphi case on the bullet? I'm almost positive that MVAC was used on that sheath button because of the fact that it was such a small amount of DNA. If you read, and we'll have to go into a little deeper dive on this method, but the MVAC's been around a long time now. It's been peer reviewed. It can extract DNA from things they could never get it from before, even the smallest minute particles. So I don't know if that was used to pull the DNA from the sheath, but I think that it was, because of the type of, it was a metal and things of that nature, and that's what this machine is designed to do. It's like a vacuum. um, I've got videos on it, and I think when we're going to be doing a members live soon. I've chatted with my members about something, so we're going to look at stuff like that, because I love to look at the technology used for for evidence in general across the board, because that's what's going to come into court, and the experts will weigh in and things like that. And what did you use to extract the DNA? How did you test it? All those things matter. Um, yeah,
Right. And
go ahead.
as an everyday Joe Schmo, I mean, looking at needs some Z's arguments here, and again, nothing
Mhm.
personal, just playing devil's advocate. Yes, touch DNA is probably not, for a lot of people who understand touch DNA, direct evidence of a person's physical presence. But you have to go third party suspect if you're saying that Brian Koberger wasn't there, but his DNA was there on that sheath. You got to go third party suspect. So, who is that third party suspect? How did they get a hold of his sheath and his knife and plant it there that night after they killed unalived four college students? Like, that's a really really deep rabbit hole, and it strains my credulity that somebody would go out of their way to go to a University of Washington student and at Washington State and get their sheath from them, take it and unalive four college students in Moscow, Idaho, and then plant his sheath underneath them. Like, it's much, much easier for me to get to, he was there and he forgot the sheath. Like, that is a way easier route to get to. And I have a feeling the jury's going to like lean along those lines too, unless Anne can come up with something else that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. There's a big debate on that, V. I've seen all the debate out there and people's research on that. That it doesn't, last long on copper, it will degrade and things of that nature. But we don't know when that DNA was transferred. It could have been that morning he accidentally did it, not, if he's your guy. So we don't really know when it was put on there. We know it laid there for 8 hours and it said single source male DNA. So was it touch DNA? Was it transfer? Was it blood? And I agree with you, Jeff. There's got to be victim's blood on that sheath as well, but it's easy to separate. They have devices even now that can separate the bloods, and they know, if it was the girls finally found that single source male DNA. Now, was it a skin cell? I'm assuming that's what it was. It doesn't make any sense for it to be. I mean, it could be blood from him, but I'm assuming more of a skin cell thing. Let me see.
Yeah, and it's the same thing in Delphi. The third party suspect thing never got introduced in front of the jury. Anne would almost have to go there to claim some type of way that his DNA got there that wasn't him being there at the
Yeah.
scene.
Thing about that, the frats and all that, um, trust me when I tell you that the defense has been emailed and sent everything that every creator could dig up on those frats, and Anne hasn't mentioned them as an alternate third party suspect type situation. She hasn't mentioned anything about anybody else yet. Um, I've got, like I've said, I know all the theories out there and all the rumors and the allegations, and I've got a whole theory laid out to me in my DMs on them frat boys, and y'all just wouldn't believe all the stuff. So
Well,
it's hard to,
we didn't learn about the third party suspects until the Frank's motion in Delphi. And then we
Right.
learned a whole lot about the third party suspects. So if we
Right.
get a Frank's motion, everybody hang on.
Well, we have the Frank's motion. We have the memo, but we haven't seen it, so we don't know. But when you look at the court hearing, it appears her Frank's motion solely based on their evidence collection and mistakes they made, and those warrants being inaccurate. Nothing.
Okay.
If you listen to the arguments that were in court about that stuff, all of her motions to suppress, the Frank's hearing problems, it's all coming from evidence, not anything,
Third party suspect
third
wise.
party. Yeah, Anne's not even come close to talking about third party suspects until she brings up an untested DNA blood sample of the banister, which needed to be tested just to give everybody peace of mind. Honest to God, maybe it was, and I think they said it wasn't, but it should have, to rule out that it matched whatever was on that knife sheath, because we can't have that either. If we don't want thrown sticks to the side in Delphi, I don't want untested blood over here on this banister, because I know that's going to throw shade out there immediately, and that should have been addressed. We'll continue the hearing.
Did it have call detail records?
It did.
What time span?
I believe it's from June 23rd of 2022. The historical was as of the date of December 23rd, but there was also a real-time pin register that was added that extended, I want to say, to the end of December, maybe very first of January.
What's a real-time pin register?
So the second search warrant asked for a couple of different things. Historical records going back to June 23rd to the current date, which was December 23rd. The second piece that was asked for is real-time data from the network, which is commonly referred to as a pin register or trap and trace. And it's the ability of law enforcement to monitor network connections in real time. So as that phone connects to the network for certain reasons, I can see those connections. It's not a wiretap. I can't hear anything. I can't see content, but I can tell the phone is connected to a particular cell tower. There's also what's referred to as ping data, and that's going to be AT&T's estimation of where the phone is at, and that's provided by latitude and longitude, and that comes in every 15 minutes.
What is the purpose of one of those devices?
I should probably clarify. The third thing was the authorization for a cell site simulator. So it was a combination of all of these. Just as a matter of policy, and I think pretty much every law enforcement agency in the world has adopted this if they can. To use the cell site simulator, you want to see a real-time feed of the phone. Otherwise, you're driving in circles where the phone may not be. So it gives law enforcement the ability to have a general understanding of where a phone is operating or functioning. And then I can use the cell site simulator to do it. There's a number of reasons an agency might do this. This search warrant actually says they were requesting this because they were trying to locate where Mr. Kohberger was.
Going to the understanding what's happening right now, is that used so that you don't just know where the phone was 5 minutes ago, but you know where it is right now?
Within a time period, it's not a perfect system. There is a little bit of a delay and the information comes in intermittently. So it's not a real-time feed of giving constant evaluation of where that phone is. But if you know what you're looking at and you've done it long enough, you get a pretty good idea.
I heard you say that this is to try to find out where Mr. Kohberger is. In the information that supported this warrant, didn't they already know where Mr. Koberger was?
The where did you hear or see confirmation there were signs of a cleanup, hun? Because I've been in this case a lot longer than I was in Delphi, and I've never. That's not true. Because I'll tell you how I assume that. Because I've got photos of Ann Taylor and her team going in that house. Ann Taylor has every single crime scene photo from that home. She has all the Faro scanning stuff that's been done so far. If you've ever watched anything on TV, like real stuff like Forensic Files, when a cleanup occurs, you can still tell a cleanup occurred, even after 8 hours. So there was obviously blood still all in those bedrooms. So I'm assuming the only cleanup that would have went down was the girls, the roommates, the main kitchen living room. But we see crime scene analysts all up in that living room taking samples of something. Now, did a cleanup occur in there? Could have, but there would be signs of a cleanup, and Ann Taylor would absolutely know about it, and I think she would have used that in her motions to suppress as well. But if you can find me something that says there were signs of a cleanup, then let me bring it to me. I'll be glad to look at it. Watch this thing be crazy now. I may have to pull it down and start it back over like I did the other day.
I reviewed a lot of documents that clearly state not only did they know where he was, they had a surveillance team with eyes on. So yes, it would be unusual for an agency to request this type of equipment. And I need to qualify that. This truck.
She did say that, didn't she, Donnie? I forgot. You're right. She did mention that, and we'll review that.
Driving around is about $1 million. It's not something you just park in the garage at night. It's a very expensive resource. It's a very technical resource that requires a lot of training and skill to use properly. So typically when it's used, it is used for, hey, we don't know where this person is at and we need to find them. And to be very honest, I don't have an issue with that part. I've used it 1,000 times. It's a good tool. It's a great tool. However, if I know where a subject is and I'm physically watching him, it's probably disingenuous for me to get a search warrant justifying it that I need to find him.
Makes sense. Thank you. I want to switch gears and talk about the CASVIZ program.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the CASVIZ program?
I am.
Why?
I've worked with a lot of agencies that have used it and accessed it. So I've worked on cases where we've used different mapping platforms to do kind of a compare and contrast as a peer review. So they would create a work product, we would create a work product, and then we would check each other's work. Because at the end of the day, we're just looking for the accuracy. We want to see if there's any errors in that. I would say I probably have worked with the CASVIZ reports several dozen times, maybe as many as 50. I'm aware of some of the updates they've made. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm aware that they have added a feature that you can now input tower density, so you can create these estimated ranges, if you will. And I'm very familiar with the basic settings that have certain controls you can do, like time zone. What time zone am I going to have? Am I going to use the coverage density? Am I going to save my work? Am I going to just exit the program? I physically have seen those features a number of times.
As it relates to this particular case, have you had a chance to look at any exhibits prepared by Detective Mallory using the CASVIZ program?
I'm pretty familiar with, I believe it's State Exhibit 48 that was used for the grand jury. The others I had never seen until
State Exhibit 48 was used for the grand jury. Hold on, I'm making a note of something. Okay, Sorry. I had to write something down real quick before I forgot.
I believe it was last week. So I'm probably gonna have to look at those if you're gonna ask me questions on those, but states 48, I'm pretty.
I want to ask you a question about that. I'll ask you some other questions about the records we received last week. I'm going to have you handed what was admitted last week as states are, just my copy of it so that we know what we're talking about here.
Okay.
I'm curious about what was needed to go into CastViz to create that.
So when I open the CastViz program, I have to input what I'm going to refer to as source data. So let me define source data is any data that is an electronic format, typically a text file, that the CastViz program is going to link to this mapping session and use that source data to create the images we're seeing. I can tell you right off the bat, without a doubt, this one is linked to two different source data. One is going to be a set of CDR records, so the regular AT&T CDRs. And then this particular exhibit would require the regional AT&T tower list, which is a text file that contains all of the cell site locations, most likely be Western Washington, Idaho, and Eastern Washington, Idaho, and Western Montana is typically that region. But there's no way this map was created without the AT&T tower list. It's physically impossible.
Is the AT&T tower list, was that contained in the call detail records that were obtained by search warrant relating to Mr. Koberger?
It was not.
All right. And in the CastViz program, when you input the CDR call detail records and you input the tower list, does that program create any type of log?
It does, and I want to make the record really clear on what I'm testifying to, because it can get kind of confusing when we start talking about different versions. The CastViz program offers two styles of mapping. I can just default to a normal size, what they're going to refer to as a wedge shape, which is representing the sector the device connected to. If I was doing that, all I need is the AT&T records, because the AT&T CDRs actually have the tower information that's required for that mapping. As soon as I change that feature, though, to add coverage areas, the estimated coverage areas, and now these little wedge shapes or these sectors are all different sizes, the CAS program has to be linked to a tower list that has location of all of those towers. That's the only way the program knows how to size the cell sites. So I just want to clarify, if I'm mapping the CDRs without coverage areas, all I need is the CDRs. If I'm mapping the coverage areas in the CastViz program, I have to have a tower list. This one, I can see 3 different sectors. 2 of them, if anybody sees this exhibit, just to make the record really clear, they're really hard to see. One of them is just under the N as in Nora, under the word Pullman. The other one is right by the L in Pullman. But they're different sizes. And that tells me right off the bat that the AT&T tower list was used.
And why are they different sizes? Mind thinking, please.
Cell tower density. We see a great big sector right in the middle of this map, and I'm not familiar with the area here. It's basically.
Nina, I've said that. One of the things when it was all about the frat kids and, and all this stuff, you think about this for a second. You got a bunch of young, hot-headed kids, young college adults. A lot of them don't have a lot of street cred. They don't probably have a lot of street smarts. Are they going to be capable of going in there, committing such a crime without leaving their own DNA every damn where, because they got no idea what they're doing? And then they can keep it a big secret and not one single, say there was 5 involved. I'm just pulling that out of the air, 5 to 6. Not one is going to grow a conscience and break down, right? And like tell mom and dad. Would mom and dad protect them? Would you say, okay, we got to, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they could all keep it a secret and be so well trained that they could go in there. And I love that you guys are commenting. I appreciate it. Makes the conversation interesting.
Yeah, I love the back and forth, and I love the different perspectives and different opinions.
Basically south of Pullman.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
As long as you
And
guys
south
are
of-
respectful and continue
they
to
are
be
being.
respectful. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
And y'all, I can be a little sarcastic ass sometimes. Y'all know that about me, and y'all. So y'all don't bother me when you get a little sarcastic or salty. Us, hey, we're salty here, but we are all being respectful with each other, and I do appreciate that because just like you and I do when we talk things out, or like you said, we don't always agree, but we're like, well, what about this? Or what about that? So we're appreciating the conversation.
Moscow, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Not a lot of cell towers out there. So one tower covers a very large area. Then the other two are going to be in Pullman. It's kind of hard to see on this map, but I believe they are going to be ones that are on Washington State University campus. A lot more cell towers. The coverage is much smaller. So it's just a way to look at tower density to kind of estimate how far certain towers may connect to a phone where others may have a very short range.
And is it based on that difference in towers that causes you to know that a certain type of tower report was used?
Yeah, it is a basic algorithm that uses tower density, and the only way to determine tower density is to have a list that has all of the towers, not just the ones that were used by the cell phone.
Okay. Do we have the list of the tower list that was used by Detective Mallory in developing that exhibit?
Detective Mallory stated he did not use a tower list to create this exhibit, so no, but I'm not sure how to answer that other than I haven't seen one.
Should it be there?
It is physically impossible to create this map without it.
If you had the logs from the CastViz program, would that give you more information about what was used?
It would. We would need the CastViz program as well. The logs are saving certain settings, and it's a JSON format, which is just a software language. We could load that JSON file into the CastViz program, and for the most part, we could replicate exactly what was done.
If I understand that, to turn it around, in order to replicate that and to see what was done, you would need a CastViz program. Is that right?
Correct, and preferably the same version that was used.
And you need a JSON file that was made by Detective Mallory. Is that right?
Correct, and depending on where this software program is, we would probably need the source data again because it may not be automatically linked. Anybody who did PowerPoint 10 years ago, you make a PowerPoint on one computer, you save it on a thumb drive, you go to a different computer, all the links are broken. It could create a situation like that. So you would probably need the original source data as well.
Yeah, Donnie, there's still a big debate about who was asleep and who was awake. I don't think that Xana was asleep. I think if the ones that might have been asleep were Maddie and Kaylee, and Ethan was probably pretty much asleep, half asleep, whatever you want to call it. Dylan was half asleep. We'll call it that. We don't know what Bethany was down there in the basement, first floor. We don't know. But it almost feels like Xana was awake because, like, we know she got that DoorDash at 4 a.m., 4 a.m.-ish. And if Linda Lane leaked footage is correct, that white sedan, no matter who's driving it, comes around that building at 4:08. The lights go out. By 4:09, 4:10, somebody's in that house. So 10 minutes after she gets DoorDash, is she asleep? I don't know.
No, she's not.
Yeah,
No.
I don't think Xana was sleeping.
To be sure.
What's the original source data?
In this case, it would be the AT&T CDRs.
Okay.
Well, no, if we're trying to recreate this work, this is where it gets a little bit complex. We would need the exact AT&T tower list that Mallory used but didn't use, which makes it really difficult because AT&T updates these on a fairly regular basis. If he used a November list and I use an April list, the results could be different.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Z, I agree. Dylan was okay. Well, we just heard the other day Dylan was a little wasted, which we all knew that. She had to have been, but we know that she was awake during everything and texting with Bethany. The probable cause affidavit even says that those two were awake and they were texting one another, and that's how part of the state's timeline was developed by downloads from the two girls' phones. So
Is she
they
the
know,
one that is she the one that was annoyed by the dog making noises?
yeah, Dylan.
Yeah, okay.
She's on the second floor, right by the kitchen, right by the stairs that lead up
Yeah.
to the third
She was
floor.
absolutely awake if she was hearing the dog, if she
Yeah,
was
she was awake. She was
thinking that
trashed, but she was awake. Okay. I don't think Murphy made a ton of damn noise, to be honest. I think he just made some scuffling, barking type sounds. Not taking up for Dylan, but we do know she was awake, and we do know for a fact they
well,
were texting one another. It says that in the PCA.
well, the dog noises were picked up by the neighbor's camera, right?
Somebody's dog was 50 feet away barking.
Yeah.
So the dog, I don't even know. The dog's found in a room with the doors open and all this, no blood on the dog. Is like, what the hell? How? I don't buy that. I feel like he would have went and sniffed the owner to make sure she was okay. If he could have gotten there now. Now, what if Maddie's door was shut and he couldn't get in there to Kaylee and to Maddie? And he just stayed right there in Kaylee's room, scared to death and terrified. We'll have to, too bad
Yeah.
Murphy can't testify, damn it.
And by the way, Donnie, this isn't personal at all. We're just going back and forth with what our opinions are. So I appreciate you coming in with a different opinion. I love it.
Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, Xana, Donnie. I was just catching up
Well,
on
Donnie,
Shadow.
well, Donnie, you just contradicted yourself though, because you just said everybody was asleep, and now you're saying no, not everybody was asleep. So I honestly think the real situation is not everybody was asleep. Were there some people that were drunk and passed out? Were there some people that were asleep? Yes, but definitely not everybody.
Yeah, I don't know if that now Donnie, you both got a good point there, because you got to consider what kind of dog Murphy was, and Murphy was a younger dog. Now, in my mind, he loved Kaylee enough that if he heard or thought she was being harmed, he was going to bark. We know he did, because old girl said she heard what she thought was, Kaylee playing with a dog upstairs. So how vicious did he really sound? Was he really a scaredy cat dog? I've seen scared dogs. I've seen dogs that will tuck tail and run. Now, not my pit bulls. One of them would, but not if I was being attacked. She's going to do her job. But it's just hard to tell. Like my neighbor's little dog, like he's a little bitty shit. I call him Killer, because I promise you, you're not getting in her house without that little dude tearing you up. You know what I mean? But I don't know Murphy's mentality enough, and he was very young, so it's so hard. I wish the dog could testify.
Why would the results be different and given the month of the day?
AT&T could have added or subtracted cell sites in the area, which would change the tower density. They could also reconfigure those cell sites, so maybe they point different directions. Given the rural area, 2 or 3 months, I don't think you're going to see much of a change, but it's always possible. So if we're talking about recreating this exhibit exactly the way it was, we would need not just the regional tower list, we would need to know which version of the regional tower list to use.
Is that generally why people in your field say their work?
We're talking best practices 101. We're creating a work product that is going to be used in a forensic nature, not showing how an extraction is done, not showing the source data that I use to create an exhibit. It happens, but for the most part, it's unheard of, especially.
Okay, notice her line of questioning there. Because when she had Mowry on the stand, not in this recent set of hearings, but before, she was questioning him about, is it standard not to keep the work that you upload? When they got the information off the CAS report, and where's the notes you took it from? That he's like, I didn't need notes. I used the actual report to upload the information. So to me, it was always, what did she think they just misinterpreted things or didn't know what they were doing as far as uploading the information to the Viz system? So it's just so damn interesting.
Somebody who is a subject matter expert in digital forensics. I won't say I haven't seen it, but it is rare.
Thank you. Let's move on and talk about the
That's true,
task
Donnie.
draft. Have you?
I'm sorry, Ms. Taylor, the ASCII report.
Draft. Have you?
Can I ask how much longer on this? Because we're 90 minutes. I need to give the quarter break. But if you're going to finish, in 5 or 10 minutes, that's probably fine.
Your Honor, I would say we probably have 15 or 20 minutes or so. If the court wants to do a break, we can, or
Yeah, let's take a recess. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, when we start that back up, I can increase the speed on that. Or if you guys are tired of watching it, you can just let me know. I mean, I just kind of wanted to show some of that, and get a gist of what he's allegedly going to testify to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me get my.
Yeah, it's very technical stuff, but it also gives us insight into how the trial's probably going to go.
Yeah. And he does say that I don't know when they're. Let me. Because he does say in this particular hearing, because this is the only time he testified, that that as information came down and he was able to review, that he reserved the right to change his mind. And that's what we're all wondering. Did more come down? Did he see more stuff? Did he decide to dip out? Is he still there? Do you know what I mean? We haven't heard any more about him in any filings recently, or even in the motions to suppress stuff. That doesn't mean she didn't gain information from him that she's using in those motions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Donnie, he says, did I really contradict myself? Yeah, you did. Well, you're going, and by saying they're all, you're right about the coroner. When she first came, she spoke long time ago, and I have that. Miss Mabbitt got made fun of a lot. Miss Mabutt, people wanted to call her, because she did come out and speak, but I didn't take her as being malicious or vicious or trying to put something in anybody's heads. The media approached her. She answered some questions, and then there was a gag order thrown on the case. Everyone picked her words completely apart, and she's just an elected official. She didn't even do autopsies. But she did say, she describes their wounds and describes how horrific it really was for these kids. It wasn't like they were just all quietly didn't suffer. I think the only one that may not have suffered was Maddie. The other three most definitely suffered.
Well, and at what point when they were being attacked did they wake up? But
Well, I think if they're correct about Kaylee being in Maddie's room already, that she fell asleep on the bed, because it's a twin bed, small bedroom. If Kaylee did fall asleep in there with Maddie, and I know Nina has a different theory, but if he went upstairs first and went into Maddie's room, because that was the target, and then he gets in there and there's two girls in the bed, but they're both asleep. Unalives, trigger warning, guys, content warning, whatever, takes care of Maddie. Kaylee's waking up at this point. So she's awake and fighting back. We know from her father's description and from the coroner's descriptions, Kaylee did fight back. Her wounds were very different than Maddie's, according to Steve Gonzalez. I don't even think she knew what happened. Kaylee was different. Either Kaylee was in her room, got startled, and came in to check on Maddie and was attacked, or was already in there. And as she's waking up, he's attacking. And then the other ones, I think Xana was awake, and he met her down those stairs when he went to haul ass out of there. I don't think that sheath was just forgotten. I think it got the heat of the moment things were getting sideways and it wasn't thought about again until it was too late, you know. Um,
Yeah, if he by himself unalived 4 college students, including Ethan, who was not a small dude, he was not slight, then he's wore out after that. Like he probably doesn't have it in him to unalive another one. He's just getting out of there, right?
yeah, but I don't think he saw Dylan, because are you about to leave somebody alive that sees you, even if you are
Right.
out of
Right.
breath? No,
That's a good point. Yeah, no, that's a
no.
good point.
You've
Yeah.
already done 4. What's one more?
She's just got her door just cracked open a little bit. She sees the mask and the bushy eyebrows,
And it's
but she's
dark,
in the
and he's in a
she's in the
hurry.
dark. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's in the dark. So he's probably not even thinking about looking inside that door crack to see if somebody's standing
No.
there looking at him.
No, he probably didn't even notice that door was cracked open. He may not even looked hard at it. He's just like, gotta get the hell out of here. Shit just went real crazy, you know. Maybe he intended to go in there and do all 4, and Ethan was a little more than expected. And like one of the comments earlier, Xana had some pretty hardcore defensive wounds as well. So it wasn't like, you know, I just think that things went south once. I don't think they were all 4 intended to be victims. I honestly don't. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Yeah.
Was there a hammer?
Hmm. I
Jeff
don't know,
is
Jeff. If there was anything used to strike with, it's going to be one of them damn golf clubs, dude. You know what I'm talking about, Jeff. I know you do. It's going to be one of them golf clubs. I just got a funky feeling about them golf clubs. Ethan was a big golfer. His entire family golfed. He got Xana into golfing. And so there were golf clubs in the spare room downstairs on the first floor. There were golf clubs in one of the Chapin cars, because Stacy, the mother to Ethan, says they confiscated, okay, because Ethan's Jeep was already there. And Maisie, his sister, the they're triplets. The boys shared the Jeep, the red Jeep. Maisie drove, the sister drove the black SUV. She arrived before law enforcement as well, and she pulled into the driveway behind her brother's Jeep. And so when they roped off the parking pad, she got roped off in there. Stacy says they confiscated our vehicles and a very nice set of golf clubs. And I thought, golf clubs from in the house or golf clubs in the car? But then you see law enforcement carrying golf clubs out into the U-Haul van. And a lot of, well, me and Dan, we have zoomed in on those golf clubs. You know, is one missing? Is there one taken into evidence? Was one taken into evidence? Was one left at the, you know, I don't know. There's a lot. Did Ethan grab a golf club to try to defend themselves? I don't
was
know.
it the 7-iron? I need to know if it was the 7-iron.
I'll have to show you those pictures and get your take on it, because we've done a deep, me and Danger, you know who I'm talking about. We've done a deep dive looking at those and trying to figure out. But if there was one club missing and you found it in the crime scene covered with blood and you think it was used, would you keep the whole bag at that point, or just that one? Do you know what I mean?
Oof.
We see the law enforcement carrying all their stuff, the victims' items out willy-nilly and loading them into the U-Haul to take to the storage facility for the parents to go through later. I mean, and that golf club bag comes coming out. It's not even part of
Donnie, you're not gonna swing that golf club in a bedroom like you would on the golf course. You're gonna like bring it down like a club, like gonna put it over your head and just go whack, like on somebody's head.
Yeah, you're gonna grab. Let me tell you what, I got all kinds of weapons in my room. And I'm coming at you any way I can. I'm not gonna be like pretending I'm golfing. Like I'm fixing to hit you wherever I can get you at, right? I'm coming. I'm gonna lay in wait. I will lay in my bed and let you get all the way to me. I told my kid that. Don't get scared and scream and holler and all that. Lay there and pretend you asleep. Let them get all the way to you. Then you show them what's up.
Hey V,
comment.
they haven't shown Brian's car or phone was near there, but we have video evidence of a white Elantra driving around that block. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
We do. Let me
you can't see who's driving. You can't see the license plate. So it is definitely not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but it is highly suspected.
and okay. Let me pull up something real quick. Let me,
Highly suspicious.
we're kind of going to go down a little bit of a tiny little rabbit hole. Let me see something here.
Isn't it nice
Well,
to not have time constraints?
yes, and if you guys get tired of talking or listening to me talk, y'all, dip out. I don't. This daytime streaming is Joe and I like it better. By the end of the day, we both are like, "Ha, we're tired," but I don't mind doing my nighttime ones when I'm, especially when I'm bored and got something really good I want to get into you guys with. But we like this daytime stuff. I'm liking it because I'm home alone all day. There's nobody here to interrupt me, and I can just do me. That's what we call it.
Donnie,
Um,
Donnie, you come in my bedroom right now, and I have a set of golf clubs in here. I guarantee you that you're getting hit with a golf club.
I'm
Well, or
saying, right? Look, my son, we are in Florida, and we have our civic center, whatever you want to call it. Well, they put the fake ice out there, and we got the ice hockey in the winter. And what I forgot what they even call the team. I don't go to it. My kid went down there, but when he's got this hockey stick that he got from a field trip when he went down there. Like I got that in here. I've got a never mind. I ain't gonna tell y'all what all I got, but I got stuff.
I'm not either. I'm not either. Nope.
I got plenty. I'm a single lady. And I don't own a pit bull anymore. When the last one passed, I was like, I'm kind of tired of owning dogs. But so, yeah, so I had to come up with other ways to protect myself. Okay. I'm going to play y'all a little video. I was going to pull up Jeff's Elantra video, and we still will. But Linda Lane footage was leaked footage, okay? Sleuthy Goosey, if you're still in here, honey, don't strike me. I'm about to play you. Sleuthy is going to give an explanation on that Linda Lane stuff.
She and I are fighting that hidden true crime copyright strike right now.
Yeah, Sleuthy's our girl.
Yep.
This is from her YouTube channel. I'll have to grab the link and drop it in for you guys in case you haven't seen it. She doesn't go live enough, but she does have some great content over there and some good little videos. And she's also got a pretty cool looking. Okay, a long time ago, she put up with that one because she's like, that's all I wanted to do. I was like, well, you did it. So let me get the screen. Okay, screen's up. All right, so Linda Lane footage is leaked footage of what is allegedly the suspect vehicle, one car circling its prey over there. Let me get this where I can reach my play button.
He's going to be able to go to bed soon. I've been seeing so much confusion about the Linda Lane footage. I'm like totally over it. And while I don't think right now that it's necessary to,
You guys can hear that okay?
Yeah, I hear it.
put out this person's name and shit, and I did redact a bunch of stuff. Not a bunch of stuff, like 3 things, because like a phone number's in there and shit, and it's just not necessary. But I do think it's necessary at this point just to kind of Tyler, I don't know how there's still confusion. I mean, I think there's still confusion because there's some weirdness going on. Some people not wanting to, I don't know. Like, I know there's people saying that they bought the footage that really didn't buy the footage. And like, so it's just, the whole thing's kind of crazy. I'm going to take my medicine and hopefully it'll kick in by the time this is done and over with.
I love her.
I didn't really want to read it. I don't think we'll have to chat really.
I'm gonna go grab some more.
Melissa, I'm glad that the Twitter space helped clarify. I actually found out kind of like more after. So like after that Twitter space, I confronted this person and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Why like, did you send this to a bunch of people? Like, I don't understand how these people even all, because at that point, like, multiple people were like, I got the footage, I got the footage, I got the footage, I got the footage. And I was like, dude, people that are scared of shit don't send footage all over the fucking place. You just don't do that. And so essentially, I'm going to show these. I hope that it clears up where it came from in terms of when it was sent to me, which from what I understand was before it was sent to everybody else, and before it appeared on YouTube. And so that you can get kind of the idea of where I was coming from in that Twitter space when I was, and at that point I still was like trusting this person. I mean, I was fucking furious that this person, and you'll see how they were talking to me. Exactly, Melissa. Melissa said, that's what I figured. I knew you were being honest, but I don't think she was being honest with you. And that's exactly what happened. And it's not necessary to like show me confronting her. I don't want to, it's not about like drama. It's just kind of, I'm just trying to fill in the blanks for everybody. But I was fucking furious at the thought that this person was talking to me the way that they were and how scared they were. And you'll see why. And then the thought that someone leaked it onto YouTube really just angered me big time. So I'm over the being angry phase. I think it's clear. I don't know if the intention was to like get me to leak it or whatever, which obviously they got me fucked up because I don't do that. But you'll see here, at least just until I'm going to show you through, like from the day I was contacted. And it wasn't like the first time I had ever spoken to this person. The day I was contacted, and then through to like the day that it appeared on YouTube. What a web of lies we weave when we practice to deceive. And that's exactly right. So, but I keep everything. If you talk to me, don't try deleting shit afterwards, because I'm going to show everybody what we both said. Like I said, I did redact like my real name.
Sorry.
And I cut I cut off the top of her and redacted like her name and her phone number and stuff. So let's see if this will work. Can you see that? I don't know if I should read it or if I should just sit here quietly and let you all read it, and then just make everybody put like ones when you're ready for me to click to the next page, or what. My concern is that some dumbass is somehow like, I don't trust any of these people involved with this at this point. So like my concern is that my voice in reading these messages is somehow going to like appear somewhere as if I'm saying them on the phone. But if you guys think that's not an issue, then I'll just read it.
Paranoid much, Sleuthy. I don't blame you, girl. Guys, should I speed it up a little bit? Or are you good with this or what? What y'all think? I love sleep.
You could go 1.25 probably.
Let's see. If I don't want to, let me get my, where does it say speed at? Oh. Okay, 1.25. Let's see. If she talks super fast, I can't do that super fast talking. My brain can't compute. So if it's too much, I'll have to slow it back down. But
it's all good. It's all good. We're in it.
Let's try this. Let's see if we can make Sleuthy sound funny. We love you, Sleuthy.
Fine. Lord, I hope I did redact everything. So, and I can give you a little bit of context here. So this was when I was not into, I thought about using AI, but I'm not going to. There was no time. I just want to like get this done. And I literally want to put my head on the pillow and go to sleep. But when I was intending on having you all read it, I basically said everything I just said to you guys, giving you directions to read left to right. The pink is me. And the gray is this person that messaged me. And so they asked me if I'd ever spoke to Sarah Azari. I said, yeah, why? What's up? They said, I have all the security footage and it can.
Okay, for those of you who do not know, Sarah Azari is a defense attorney. She is on Twitter, but she's not as much as she used to be. She used to fight all the time with Jennifer Coffindaffer. And then they got in trouble because they're both News Nation people and got told to chill. But yeah, so Sarah is a defense attorney.
Completely exonerates Koberger. Both murders are on there. The police have it, and I am scared and don't know what to do with it. I bought it from a neighbor. So I said, do you want me to forward it to her? And they said, oh, it's 24-hour footage. I said, that's crazy they had you buy it. I wouldn't trust just sending it to police, that's for sure. And she said, people will sell anything for the right price. The killer's name is Charlie. Okay. Lord have mercy. We're going to have to make this bigger. I can't hardly see this. Okay, that's better. Hopefully you can see the timestamps. Let me go back to the first one to see when exactly the first. So July the 1st at 11:53 a.m. Eastern time. So
Donnie, if he got up, if you're talking about Ethan, so say Xana is headed toward the kitchen because of that DoorDash order. She just finished eating, whatever, terrorizing. And you hear your girlfriend being attacked or you hear something. Are you trying to get up at that point and you know it's whatever you're hearing is not good? Are you grabbing the first thing you can, or because allegedly they're all both in the bedroom being killed. So are you gonna grab whatever's nearest you, right?
So tell me about those golf clubs.
Which one?
Where were those taken out of, and where
Okay.
did you see those?
Okay, so we know that on the bottom floor at the front door on the right hand side there's a bedroom there. So when you walk in the house to the right there's a bedroom. That bedroom was empty. Nobody was renting that room. There was a set of golf clubs sitting in that room because the curtains are cracked open and you can see them from the outside of the home. We've got pictures, we've got video. We don't know if Xana had a set of golf clubs in her bedroom. We don't know that. It's just a speculation, right? And then when you see the cops are removing items from the home and loading into the U-Haul, we've got footage of them carrying out bags of golf clubs.
More than one or just one?
I think it's just one. It might possibly be two. I'd have to go through my photos and send and share those with you and show you what I'm talking about. Actually, let me see something real quick.
So if that was the one down on the first floor, then it wasn't in Xana's room.
Right. Exactly. And we don't know. But that was why I was saying if there was a set in Xana's room and one was pulled out to use for defense, they would take that whole set into the crime scene now. They wouldn't be
Right.
walking out with the rest of them into the U-Haul and leaving that, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
it was a
Yeah.
speculation thing about the golf clubs to begin with. That just still doesn't mean one wasn't grabbed or there wasn't a set in Xana's room. We don't know. If there was a set in Xana's room, then they're in the evidence. And they're not this. I think the ones that we see them carrying out of the house were the ones from the spare bedroom.
Gotcha. So
Held
there
up?
may not have been a golf club that Ethan used.
Oh yeah, that's a speculation. That's never confirmed anywhere of any way. Mm-mm.
Gotcha.
So they said the killer's name is Charlie. I said, did you also send it to Anne? She said Xana begged.
So Donnie, you have to think about it. If these rooms weren't huge. I think Bethany probably had the biggest room. Maddie had the tiniest. Xana's wasn't that big. So if you're up and we hear that Ethan also had a lot of wounds. Maybe he got thrown back up on that bed, and that's where all that came from. All the soaked mattress, we see that all over the mattress as they carry it out of the house too. Unfortunately, we see what's coming down the outside of that wall. So we don't know that it's purely speculation, people, that a golf club might have been picked up to use for self-defense. So we can just forget about golf clubs. My God.
Begged him
Yeah,
for life
we
at
got
132.
more important things to talk
And I said,
about.
"Oh my God," and a crying face. She said, "I signed an agreement with the owner. I will not give to defense or families." By the way, I'm not reading the chat. The white Elantra has a sunroof. It's not his car. I said, "Is there video or just audio?" Wow. So tell me what we need to do, because I didn't sign any agreements with anybody.
Oops. Okay. So, Jeff, you probably know about this as well as I do. They just discussed, she said, this is proof he didn't do it. This is a white Elantra with a sunroof. There's actually two separate sets here going on. Linda Lane footage that shows the white sedan circling the house. And then there is another Linda Lane footage. And I don't even know if I have that one. I got to find it to show you guys. But it shows a white car that people have speculated is not an Elantra, that does have a sunroof, and it's back, and it's okay. So when you're looking from I'll have to show you the footage in a minute, but when you're looking down at the Linda Lane footage, see this car in this video, or the screen that Sleuthy has up? Just to the right of that is going to be another area, and there is a video from over there where a white car is seen backing out of a spot. I believe it's backing out, not pulling in. I could be wrong, but it has a sunroof. It is not the same car seen over here on this other Linda Lane footage. It's just not, and we'll have to. So I just needed to take a moment to try to talk about that one, because I asked Sleuthy, I said, well, why do you think once that Linda Lane got leaked, and I know who put out the other one of the screenshot sunroof car, and it was a distraction type thing. 1330 Linda Lane and 1320. Jeff, do you have videos of both of those on your channel? I know you got the one I wanted to look at with the Elantra stuff on this Linda Lane footage, but I didn't know if you had the dumpster one on your video on your channel or not. So that's thank you. Yeah, guys, please leave us a like if you don't mind. I always forget to ask. I throw the banner up and ask occasionally, but so let's get back to this for a second.
And she said, "Will that Sarah chick respond to you? I want her to have it. I don't want my name out there at all." I said, "Yeah, she always does, and I have her email, but I'm not allowed to just give it out." So she said, "Can you ask her to call me?" And then gave me her phone number. I said, "How can you get it to her? Like, how can you send 24 hours of footage?" And she said, "Don't tell anyone I have it." I said, "Yes, I'll message her now." And they said, "I'll put it on Google Drive." Then they sent me a screenshot of the footage. And that was at 4:05. And she said, "Here's proof I have it." I said, "Where's that camera?" She said, 500 Queen. I can hear the entire thing. Just moments before Ethan and Xana, they were doing karaoke. John Denver's Bring Me Home. Now, I hadn't asked for the footage, and I was going to send it. I was just going to send it. I didn't have to see it. And I'll just say it now so I don't forget. But, like, I did reach out to Sarah. Never did get to send it to her. I mentioned somebody else in here. Oh, there he is. I mentioned Bob in here because that's somebody that I trust. And I was like, if you really need some help, like, I trust him. And you can always get some advice from him. But I never sent it to him either. So she said, "There's another car involved. It's a truck with camper shell. Please don't tell anyone I have it. I need a lawyer to do it." And then screenshotted the Google Drive and said, "I scared the cops will mess with me." This is
Okay, and so she's talking about they're talking about everything except for this white car that this leaked video shows, or light colored sedan. There's a truck in the parking lot not far in front of this SUV, whatever this little black thing is sitting here. In the parking lot where you look down, the camera looks down over, And for like I've said before, people spent like a week and a half looking at that video, seeing everything in their brother coming and going. That they saw Murphy getting into the truck, they saw Dylan run to the truck, that all these things that weren't there. And thank God Jules of All's Trades called it out finally, and but it was such a like, oh my God, it was a week-long headache of watching these people do that. And I'm like, y'all aren't even bothering to look at that white or light colored car. Why? Are we afraid it could be Koberger's car? Are we afraid it might look like a white Elantra? Why are we avoiding that and looking at everything but that? Is weird.
Still all on July the 1st. She said, I don't want anyone that can tell police and not hand it over. The police already have it. They told me they gave it to them. By them, I assume that they meant the landlord had already given it to police. So I said, so this would be the same one that they say he stopped and turned around in front of, meaning camera. She said, yes, I can see that. The thud is for sure getting door kicked open. The second door slams. The dog barks 2 times. I said, what's the timeline of everything? She said, once.
Okay, so we've been told that the camera 50 feet away picks up a thud. And she said the dog barks 2 times. Did you hear that, Joe?
Yes.
So that's just some things I found interesting about it.
Before.
But they're like somebody in the background singing "Take Me Home, Country Road." They're in a fish bowl right there where the King Road house was, where the Queen Road apartments, all this footage, everything's like in a bowl right there. So if somebody's walking around any of the homes, we see one guy run from the apartments into a truck. People made a big deal about that. I called, well, maybe he was on a call he shouldn't have been on, needed to get home before the old lady woke up. Who knows? Maybe he was getting ready to go to work, go hunting with daddy. It was early in the morning. There's all kind of things. So there was just a lot of things happening in the background that you could barely hear. People were trying to make nefarious stuff out of, except watching the actual footage for what it was meant for.
Kicking in the door and after shut into second bedroom. Talking about the two barks. Someone named Callie. Lord. Someone named Callie is there too. The roommates are there. I can hear them yelling each other's names. So I wish I could help build the timeline of this with timestamps for her. She's going to want it. She'll have to explain what's on the video, meaning I ain't fucking turning over 24 hours of footage and not giving this woman, meaning Sarah, timestamps. She said it needs no explanation. The murder of Xana and Ethan is at 1:32 and it's clear as day. She says, Charlie, leave me to live. By the way, I'll just say, like, the reason that I'm not showing you this on my actual Twitter, which I can pull it up so that you can see if you want me to, that my Twitter has changed. The colors are changed. So you can see that these are actual pics from my Twitter DMs. But there's too much shit in there that isn't necessary to get out. Like I said, like the phone numbers and shit. So I'm not going to read it from my DM.
And the things this woman is claiming to Sleuthy that can be heard, I could never hear, even with magic headphones on. Let me just say that.
Tony Liggett, didn't you lend you his magic headphones?
No, but apparently everybody else on YouTube got a pair. I was like that lone wolf who didn't. Oh well.
So I said, can absolutely trust Bob Mata as well. Then she says, Charlie, I won't. Then she says, Charlie, I can. She's screaming. She has a very distinct voice, kind of deep and raspy. The real Elantra has a sunroof. Koberger's doesn't. I need to give it to that Sarah woman or someone that can get it to the right people. She asked if Bob was law enforcement. She said, I don't know who Charlie is. I just got the footage 2 days ago. I haven't started to look. It's really not necessary for me. So I 100% trust Bob. I know he'd get it to the right place. Is he a lawyer or law enforcement? I'm not giving it to law enforcement. I said, he's a lawyer. She said, the owner is going to try to sue me. I'm not supposed to give it to anyone. I said, you could talk to him about that. I'm sure he could advise you. Do you want to send all this to him and have him reach out? She said, if you could help me at some point once I'm ready, that would be helpful to me. I do not want my name out there. So this is multiple times now I'm told, don't tell anybody I have the footage. Don't tell anybody I have it. Nobody needs to know my name, yada, yada. I said, of course. She said, does that Charlie? Oh, I offered up a Charlie just because I happened to quickly look and I found one. Not necessary for everybody to look at it or even know the Charlie that it is. But she said, does that Charlie have a large truck with a camper? I see the owner of the truck walking to the truck at 4:21. from King. His car is parked at 500 Queen. I said, there's no pictures of his vehicle at all on
Jeff, you were able to email with Kane about that footage? Interesting.
Instagram, but I can check elsewhere. Keep in mind, like at this point, I'm still thinking this is like legit. Like nobody has seen this. This is July the 1st. This person reached out to me, like they obtained this footage and they were terrified about what they heard, hadn't got to review it all. She said, can you not tell a soul yet? I'm super scared, but think there are safety in numbers. There is safety in numbers. I thought I would get clues, but the actual murder turned out a lot scarier than I thought. I said, I'm willing to assess everything and make sure it goes where it needs to in order to get justice for, you don't need to know that. In order to get justice for the kids, prevent it from happening again. Can't imagine what you've been going through after watching it, unexpectedly having heard that. She said, okay, give me a moment to think this over. I'm as super freaked the last 2 days. Would you want to watch it? It's mostly audio. I said, doesn't matter audio or not, that's chilling, meaning it doesn't matter that it's not on video. I said, I can't understand how you can hear everything plain as day, but the roommates and everyone else in the neighborhood didn't hear shit. And she said, well, I promise you, I can hear it. It was only 1:30. I said, so what's the end time of everything? And she said, well, I think this footage is exactly 2 minutes fast, or the bell tower is 2 minutes slow. I can hear the bell tower chime several times, exactly 2 before the top of the hour. The Elantra makes the turnaround at 500 Queen at 4:06 on my footage. It honks in front of the home lightly. The DoorDasher, I think that's who, honks lightly 3 times and then 2 more times. They are not coming down for the food.
All right. So there was no, like, there was a honk, right, Jeff? I think there was like one honk that I heard, but it was like when this came out and I was questioning somebody on Twitter, I was like, how, they were like, oh my God, the DoorDash driver, they were honking and they had to go out and meet the DoorDash. I'm like, how do y'all know that? Unless you can see the front of that house with a camera. It was a lot of assumptions, you know what I mean? With a lot of assumptions that were going on because of this leaked video and the noises people claim they were hearing. Yeah, so Jeff says, we knew that he did turn over some. I've had a few email exchanges with Kane. He turned over his whole hard drive to his 4 cameras around the Linda Lane area. He personally doesn't feel there's much that helps the case. No, because what he's got is grainy footage, right? At best. And we're going to look at that one video you did with the possible Elantra lookalike thing and show people the contrast that you did there. But so Kane is the individual who owned the apartments where this Linda Lane footage was leaked from, and he owned all the units right there. So he owned several of the cameras that were there.
Yeah, I'd throw my wife under the bus. I'd be like, I'm sending this out.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Send me your email. This is super beyond YouTube. This is super beyond YouTube material right now. First, we need to do right by families. I said, oh no, I agree. Whatever, we're going to call that octillion%. I would never, ever put something like that on YouTube. She said, I'm going to invite you to the Dropbox. I think I'm ready to share it. I sent my email. She said, or Google Drive. Google Drive is best. I have it hooked up on all of my devices. You can just share the link for Google Drive. Then I didn't add this part, but I gave her I was like, don't make the link like accessible to anybody with the link. Only send it to people's emails directly. That way you know exactly who has it, because as soon as you make that a public link, any and everybody can click on it. She understood. She asked if I was willing to discuss with her on the phone after I looked at them. I said, sure. She said, this guy's going to sue me probably, meaning the landlord. Can you promise me not to put this stuff out there before I get some counsel? You're going to need good headphones. I'm going to share it with you. All I ask is that you don't put it on the internet. You get where I'm going with this? Why I would have been so fucking irritated when I saw it on the internet? You're about to see how irritated I was. I said, I assure you, I would never. She said, I don't want sued, and I don't even know what that says. Enough, someone will try, plus the danger of police and killer. I said, I would never. Not everything is for the public, and certainly not when someone else could be hurt. She said, okay, I'm about to send. Go to 4 a.m. first to confirm the PCA. Linda Lane, 4 a.m., not the one called Dumpster. As you all know now, there's 2 camera views. I said, aside from you being sued, which would easily be one, but I'd talk to Sarah about that, meaning you. If I were you, talk to Sarah. You can't be expected to withhold evidence of a crime being committed, and this cannot get out publicly or anyone knows of its existence. Otherwise, killers know it exists. She wanted my real name. I did end up giving it to her. I said, so is this from Kane F? And she said, it is. I said, okay, I didn't realize he had a cam pointing toward the house. I only knew about the one pointed at Taylor Ave. And she said, he has a parking lot cam 200 feet from home, directly pointing at 500 Queen. Would you be willing to just call me? And she says, 41450 something that's too small, I can't read, is the thud. I said, there's both a grayish Elantra with a sunroof and a black Ford F-1.
Now, so 500 Queen is right there at the edge of the apartments where we're going to see I'll show you all the Linda Lane footage in a minute, where you see the car come from in front of the Queen Road apartments, and he turns around the parking lot and stuff there. That's where they're focusing at.
She said, did you see the dude get in the truck? I said, and the truck has a camper shell. She said, yes. I said, yes, definitely. She said, did you hear the door slams? The house is super quiet. It's super loud at 1:30. I said, yep, but I actually saw him get in. She said, yeah, he comes walking in from far left of screen. I wonder if that driveway spits you out at the side of King Road. Y'all, if you had to read this, I didn't realize the writing was so fucking small.
Okay, so the gist of that is this is a woman who bought the footage. And this picture here that is now on the screen is the second footage, Linda Lane footage that Jeff and I have been talking about. And you can tell there's a sunroof right here. And I think on the timestamps and all that, it's not even this is not the same car that you see on the other Linda Lane footage that they were also talking about. This is a separate piece of footage. And I know who put this piece out first. And I felt like it was so obvious they weren't the same cars. Even though I can't really tell you what that car is over on the other Linda Lane footage, it's not this car. It just, to me, never looked the same. Did it to you, Jeff? I mean, I know it didn't. And over here's the dumpster, Nina. If you're still in here, this is over here where that dumpster you were talking about in the email. Or no, not that wasn't you. I'm sorry. That was somebody. I got another message this morning. You guys, I got to get my girls up here at the same time because I'm getting everybody confused. But there's a dumpster back over here as well that you see a guy walk up to, and people speculated, did he throw something in? Did he take something out? Right. It was, we ended up determining that, right, Jeff, that it was a BMW. Let me pull up Jeff's video because there's really not much left to really talk. They're just really going over the drama of this woman being afraid for her life after she paid money for some footage that she thinks is going to exonerate Bryan Kohberger, and all these odd things that she claims that she was hearing and seeing and all that. Really, it was not there. Let me pull this down. But you're welcome to go back over there to Sleuthy's channel and take a look at that in full if you'd like. How do I stop sharing screen here? I don't think it lets me just automatically like I did in the other one. It's so weird. Okay, hold on. The guy at the dumpster has a cigarette in one hand and an iPhone and a flashlight. Yeah, in the other. I don't know. He possibly picks up anything. Yeah, we don't know. Remember, Jeff, people were speculating he was putting the weapon in the dumpster. It was getting his drugs out of the dumpster, whoever he was. And it's just a freaking random college kid walking around to the dumpster. At least he wasn't ziplocking his stuff up and walking around the corner. I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure the police were really interested in who that person was and probably have spoke to that person or tried to find that person. Let me go over back to YouTube for a minute. Okay. All right, I'm pulling up Jeff's channel. I will also grab his link in just a second. I want to show you guys something and this is speculation and theory. Don't come at me. Don't come at Jeff. Because I thought it was a really good video personally. And it didn't sway me either way. Well, he's got, let's see. Let me show you this real quick. This is from his channel as well. Yeah. Jeff, can you come up for a moment? Let me know in chat. Because these are your videos and you can explain what's happening here. I mean, it's videos that you covered on your channel. Let me put this one back. All right, this one is, let me share the screen. Remember the screenshot we just looked at with that white car with the sunroof? This is that angle. Was this one it, Jeff? Let me see. Uh-oh, sorry guys. Kenny Chesney came up somehow. I'll get in trouble for playing that. Shit. That was supposed to be Jeff's video. Joe, you still with us? Have I bored you to death?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm still alive.
All right, let me get back over here to Jeff's stuff here. Let me pull up this one footage. Where'd it go?
I'm thinking about making lasagna for dinner tonight.
Jeff's intro started playing in my ears. Okay. Let me pull up the right one, guys. I'm trying to find the one you did, Jeff, with the overlay. Is that the indifference mode? Let's see. Let me look at this real quick and I'll tell you guys if this is the right one. How come it's all black, Jeff? Oh, I see. That's not the one I'm looking for either. Hang on, guys. Bear with me. I'm sorry.
You're good. We can wait for it.
Okay, let me... What do you say?
Just play all my videos.
I know, right? He's like, play them all, play them all. He has some difference, though. Okay. Look, let me go to your... Do you have your Linda Lane stuff on a playlist, dude? It'd be easier to find the one I want. Okay, this is the one that I was just showing. Oh, this is where you got some enhanced audio going on. Okay. This is the one with the screenshot where the car was at that had the sunroof. Okay. Okay, see, that was a little bit of the noises that could be heard. Did you guys hear that?
Yep.
Let me stop this. How does it?
It was hard to make out what it was, though.
Yeah, it's really, it sounds to me like it's just the college kids in the background. Do you know what I mean? Like talking. I still can't find the right video that I'm trying to find.
I'm going to need me some of them special Tony Liggett headphones to listen to this, I think.
Okay, hang on. I'll let it play another time for you. Okay, just for some, see right back here, this where my arrow's pointing, that is Taylor Avenue. Okay, so the white Elantra allegedly would have been coming down this way. And Speculation is this camera can see that car pass right there, but you can't tell. That's too far away to tell what kind of car that is. These lights back here over toward here is going to be the band field, and the frat house is way over here. The other Linda Lane footage is going to be just to the left of this footage. Okay, so let me.
It's so crazy. We were just looking at
See if I
video.
can find-
We were just looking at video footage in Delphi. We were just looking at video footage with a car that passes by far away on the video in Delphi. The similarities just drive me nuts. It's crazy.
Jeff, you're Jeff H, the guitarist, right? That's the right channel that I should be on. Let me go to your home. Okay, let me see here. That's all the body cams. Okay, here we go. That's better sound, better footage. Let me. How come it won't show me all of them at the same time, though? Oh, I see what's going on here. I'm trying to find the one where you did the overlay with the Elantra, though, Jeff. I'm trying to find that particular
There's
one.
4 a.m. Did you see that 4 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Yeah.
footage with better sound? Is that the one?
Yes, I think so. No, this is just the one that's the sound. Okay, let's watch this for a second. Now notice the timestamp is 3:59. Over here is where this is the parking lot. Over here to the left is Queen Road Apartments, and this is the parking lot this camera looks down over, and the light-colored SUV comes from over here on the left. There you go, Jeff. You can try it. Because I really want to get to the one that shows the overlay of the car, just so you guys can see the similarities. It doesn't prove anything, but it was just a really good way he did it. Okay, he's telling me to. I looked all the way across the home. Okay, there's the body cams. White Elantra. Let's see. Ah, here we go. Is this it, Jeff? I think so, guys. Okay, over here is where the car comes in. See the headlights? And it's backing up now. And it's going to go back out the way it came. That's at 405, 406. The car entered the neighborhood. Hold on. Remember, the 1112 camera faces the intersection there at King and Queen. It says the car comes in at 404. And it drives right past the house, right past these apartments, and comes back here, and it's 405, 406.
Right. So the people that are Brian Koberger is guilty are like, that's not the same year that they put out the initial Bolo on. That's a different year than the originally did. So
They changed it. I mean, when they first come out, yes, we don't know what camera footage they had at the time and what they were relying on as to what, because they came out and said there was a white Elantra, persons or persons of interest in the car. I don't think they could tell if there was many, 1, 5, whatever number of people inside. So it was, they gave the year, and then they expanded the year. And according to what we heard in court, they apparently have heavily relied on that Ridge Road footage that Ann Taylor brought up. That particular footage was apparently used to change the year of the car.
So has she filed to dismiss that because they had the wrong year?
No, there was no way to. So how do you? Okay.
I'm just saying that's an argument that people are making. People that are saying Kohberger's innocent are saying you guys got the year wrong. It can't be.
No, she
him.
hasn't said they have the year wrong.
Okay.
No, because for one thing, FBI agent Imell's the one that made the car identification. So if you're sitting here looking at grainy footages, I'm not convinced this is a 2015 white Elantra, even though I am very impressed by Jeff's video. It doesn't prove, it's more than likely it is that car or a 2015 white Elantra, but is it his white Elantra? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't hold, those cars look all so similar throughout the years, because trust me, over the 2 years this has been going on, people have torn this 2015, 2011, 2016 year gap to pieces. They've, compared tail lights, they've compared fins, we've compared every little detail about these years of these cars, even the Sentras and all the things, as to how they could have got that car ID wrong. But this is definitely a light-colored sedan, similar to a 2015 Elantra, circling its prey over here at 4:06 a.m. Y'all want to watch that again? What do you think? You think it's similar?
Yeah, it could be evidence that is not beyond a reasonable doubt that that's Bryan Kohberger's car. It is definitely not beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh, let me get you up here, Jeff. There we go. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. I just dropped his link in the chat, guys, if you want to go check out some of his videos. He's got some good observations. He's been in this case as long as I have, so he knows all the things as well. But I've been wanting to show your video for a while. It wasn't always safe in certain circles to talk about it or show it, and you know that as well as I do. But this is my channel, and I do it.
Are you talking about like when the Kohbergers they praise my video work, but damn it, they're going to show any of my videos?
Right?
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I find that to be very good.
Yeah. But I appreciated all the videos you did. I mean, because you never were like, this is definitely the car. You were just showing us that it could be,
When I did that overlay that you just showed, when I did that, I was out to just as easily debunk it as prove it. So it was either. Hold on, I'm sitting in a handicapped spot waiting for my daughter to come out of work, and there's a cop that just walked up with a cigarette.
You bad boy.
I don't know if you know at Wawa they have the handicap spots along the front. I figure if I'm just sitting there to wait for it to come out, but I know that's illegal, so I'm gonna go park over here.
Did you say Wawa?
Yeah. Do you have Wawas where you are? Are they all over the place?
No.
No, it's kind of like
I think we have one now. We have one.
Yeah, it's kind of a gas station, 7-Eleven
Yeah, because
kind of a deal.
everybody was in the Stefan Stearns case. Jen mentioned something about his Wawa. We're all like, "What the hell is she talking about?" And then we realized, but I think we just got one built over in town. So, yeah. Okay. But yeah, so go ahead with your.
But I do appreciate you showing the footage, because, I mean, and you fairly and correctly said it. I'm not out to, even though I personally think he's guilty, I'm not out to do these videos to like get him. You know, I'm out to know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole reason I even started doing these videos, mainly kind of started, I think I started first on, it's okay to mention other channels and people. I'm just going over the history of how I got into this, but you know, I called into Dago's show and it was cool. I was like, wow, I'm participating with a live conversation on this case. Then I got on T-Rev, and then I couldn't help but notice that we're all talking with words about things that are very visual. And I've been a video editor for 30 years and a cameraman. My whole life has been visual since out of high school. So that's where it all started. I took a TV production class in high school and been working in TV ever since. And now I'm in my 50-something, you know, so everything is visual to me. So when you're talking about this Linda Lane footage, or could that be, what kind of car could that be? I'm like, well, I'm going to put an overlay of a still of an Elantra over it. And I lined it up carefully, and damn if the shape of the side window doesn't fit like a glove. It's like it could have easily been like me taking here's a handprint. Here's a handprint from a kid. No, they don't line up. But if they line up perfectly, that's a match. So I'm sorry. That's what it, you know, that's what it ended up being. I think I did just one video where I tried a Sentra because somebody in the comment section suggested it. It's like, okay, fine. I'll show you that the shape of the side window is different.
I think that's on there as well. Because I saw that too. And you're right. You know, it's not your fault that they matched up, because that was one of the first things I noticed about the video was how well those windows appeared to match up to each other. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That was really, to me, that was like, whoa, that's like, you know.
There's a name for it that my friend John, that isn't everybody's friend, called it, but it's called a brow. The shape of the side window is like a brow. Ironically, maybe like an eyebrow. Yeah, Detective John.
I like Detective John.
That's right. Okay, that's right. I forgot I'm in a safe place.
You're in a safe. Yeah.
Detective John's my friend, and always will be. I mean, but he he called that a brow, which I assume because the entire shape front to back of the side window probably looks like an eyebrow, ironically. But if you look at the shape as it tapers from the bottom up to the very back edge to a point, it's a smooth, gradual curve. The only other car that I've seen do that like that is like a Tesla. But the only thing about a Tesla is that in the middle, it's really tall, as if the car was designed for a basketball player, right? So that is the thing that I noted the most. So a lot of times I think when people are looking at the side window and they're saying, oh, that could be any car that lines up, that's what you need to be looking for. That's the thing that makes it different. I couldn't get the Sentra to line up. And this Elantra curves.
I think we're losing you. Is he breaking up for you guys? Yeah, we lost him. Appreciate you coming up, Jeff, but we did lose you. But yeah, you guys go over and check out his work. It's pretty good stuff. You know, it's worth taking a look at. And just familiarizing yourself with some of that video. Let me see something here. I wanted to show you.
Yeah, I like his viewpoint that he's in it to find the truth. Like, he's not predisposed. Like, he does have his opinion about whether Bryan Kohberger is guilty or not, like you do, like I do. Like, we're leaning one way or the other. But he was just in those videos to discover the truth. Like, the overlay was about comparing the windows, not about trying to prove Bryan Kohberger's guilt or innocence either way. I like that. I dig it.
Yeah, because there was so much speculation about the car, and all that, and trying to figure out what kind of car it was. So we did appreciate. I appreciated the video. Um,
Also,
so
too, it's
on
there's
the
so many little details that we hear and we think are very important, and then we lose them. Like, I have a notepad, like pages and pages. I've got, I probably got 51. Well, no, it's a 2 terabyte drive. Can't be 51 terabytes. I've got a full hard drive of all kinds of stuff. But so these videos that are short and sweet, and it's almost like this is just so that I can go back and find what I've. You ever see that movie? What's the guy? He made tattoos all over his body when he was trying to investigate his wife's murder, but he had a horrible memory. So he would tattoo things on his body that he knew for certain, because when his memory would fail, he was tattoos and know these are facts.
Oh.
Memento. Yeah. So that's what these feel like to me. These are little short videos. So it's like, did you see the video where there's
I think
what is it? 240.
I think this is this. I think the one I pulled up now is the Sentra. Let's see.
Yeah, this was motivated by somebody in comments that can you try this with a Sentra? But you see that curve on the back of the window, back side, rudely to a point.
Yeah. So did it? Okay, here we go.
You see the cut in the Sentra, how it's like almost like a, what do you call that? That's an obtuse angle.
It's not a cute angle.
It's not very cute, is it?
I think it matches up better to the Elantra, don't you guys? What do you guys think?
Do I have my angles right too? Obtuse angle is beyond 90 degrees. And
correct, yes. Obtuse is plus 90, acute is less than 90.
Less than.
By the way, Jeff, nice to meet you. I appreciate your perspective in all of this.
Sorry, I should have introduced you guys. So sorry. So sorry about that. I'm very rude.
That's okay. We're in the trenches of it all now. Right?
Yeah.
There's the window right there. That exact moment, boom. That's a match.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a match.
It's crazy, and for people to, discount it and all the things, it's like we're not. I don't know who's in that car, but I can clearly see there's a car there, and it is a very light colored sedan.
The other thing interesting to me is that car, I mean, that's the 405 pass. That's the fourth pass of 5. And I've got a video on there where I show all 5 passes synced up and on the screen at the same time. You can see that the 5th and final pass, he is driving much faster, measurably. I put a little stopwatch timing each one.
Is that the
measurably faster?
407 when he heads toward the back of the building.
Right. It ranges from starting at 330 to 407.
And I just saw that one here. Hold on, it's right here.
You can see all 5 images on screen at once.
Yeah, there were 5 passes. And notice the timestamps in here. We can look at the actual. I've got the whole video, but we're going to look at it at this version of what Jeff did with it.
Right, and
this is
and so
all
from an
5
everyday
passes. Go ahead,
from
Joe.
an everyday Joe Schmo viewpoint, is he circling because he's building up his courage to do what he has in mind to do? Like, has he planned the quote unquote perfect murder, and is he driving around until he gets up the courage to actually do it?
I think the courage.
Very possible.
I think part of it's the courage, and part of it was waiting for all those lights to go out completely. But once those lights go out, how quickly do you think your people fell asleep? Was that a thought? Was there any lights on toward the front of the house, or did he pull? Or was he just working himself up? Because there is 5 passes, and we know that. Okay, notice at 3:30, there's a pass. 3:39, there's going to be a pass. That DoorDash driver comes in at 4-ish, He comes back at 4:04-ish. Do they pass each other at some point? Did that hold him up for a minute? Let me go back here right around. Let me
Do
make
you
sure.
think that's why he? Do you think that's why he sat there at 4:05 for 10
Yes.
seconds?
Yes.
Like waiting, like, oh my gosh, there was a DoorDash delivery. I saw the guy
I
walking up
saw
with
it.
food to the door. I better sit here for 10 seconds, wait
Yeah.
for that guy to leave.
And,
Because he'll
or did he or did he even know for sure if it was going to King Road? Because then that would alert him that somebody was awake in the house. So
Right.
did he like, okay, I just passed a car, let me sit back here and chill a minute? And because he had to have, I feel like him and DoorDash might have passed each other. 4:04, 4-ish. That's such a
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I think too. Help me out with this.
so
Figure
close
this one out.
together. You
Doesn't
know
the
what I mean? So I don't know, but
doesn't the PCA only mention like 4 passes if you're kind of keeping score? The only thing I could figure with that is that if he did a U-turn
Yeah.
in front of the house, that light bulb camera wouldn't have seen that pass. It would have captured when he left the neighborhood and came back. But that's the
Exactly.
only way I can explain that there's 5 passes you see on Linda Lane, but only 4 on the light bulb camera, which I assume
Right.
is from the light bulb camera because the timing seems right. There's those times
Yeah.
on the PCA are a little bit before Linda Lane.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. How do you think they know that car attempted to turn around or park in front of the home? Do you think it's only because of the headlights moving around in the middle of the road according to 1112? Because 1112 can't see the front of King Road either.
Right,
Linda
isn't
Lane
there-
can't. Nothing can see the front of King Road that we are aware of.
Exactly, and but the wording is the wording that it was seen turning around, or that there was a camera capturing it turning around?
Not a
'Cause this
camera.
could be a-
It
this could
appeared.
be a
It says it
human.
appeared.
Yeah, this could be a human that saw it or saw the headlights.
I
through
think the
you know.
camera captures lights moving around, and they are assuming it's appearing to turn around or park, and they're not
Okay.
sure.
Well, we have lots of video footage of this light colored sedan, white sedan, that seems to match a Hyundai Elantra. Why don't we have video footage of the DoorDash driver? Why don't we have video footage
Well, we
of the
probably
DoorDash
do.
car?
We probably do, but
Probably from the light bulb camera. We
this
just haven't
has
seen the
been-
moving
yeah.
video yet.
Yeah, this has been leaked. What we're watching now is the bought and paid for and leaked video that Sleuthy was talking about. Okay, this is the Linda Lane footage that made the big deal. This was bought, and this is the same footage the lady was telling Sleuthy about, and the other one that we saw with the dumpster area. These are the 2 videos, and they were leaked. We don't know what 1112 captures. We have a screenshot of what it can see as far as the field of vision, right, from the angle of that camera, but we have never seen what that camera sees. It has to see the DoorDash car come and go. And I'm telling y'all, DoorDash knows exactly what time that order was confirmed drop off, because you're not getting paid unless you hit confirm drop off. Once you hit confirm drop off, timestamps in place, they know exactly what time that order was dropped at the door.
And I see no real reason at all for the DoorDash driver to appear in front of the Linda Lane camera. There's no need for it to go that far back into this little dead end turnaround of a neighborhood.
Not when there's a little tiny road right there by King
It's
Road.
a little road right next to the house. That's where
And-
they would turn around.
Right, and everybody continues to say how Xana's friends said she was a DoorDash ordering fool. Okay, I was a DoorDash driver. I had a lot of repeat customers. They can't call and request me, but I know the minute they order, okay, I know this house. Even
Right.
though GPS might tell me it's on a different street, GPS might tell me to go a way that I know is the long way, but I know how to get to that house. I've been there so many times. Did this people like, oh, that's the DoorDash driver back there on Linda Lane. He's confused. Queen Road, King Road. I beg to differ.
Also, any notion that the DoorDash driver would get out of their car, go and deliver the food to the back of the house. I
Not
used to
happening.
deliver Instacart, and I carried a flashlight with me for when I was doing jobs at night, so I could just shine the light on addresses to see if I got the right place. But there's no way at 4 a.m. I'm going to back of anybody's house to drop something off.
No,
So I'm pretty
Nope.
sure even the
Not happening.
rideshare driver didn't the rideshare
Thank
driver
you.
said he
I'm not
dropped
either.
him off at the
And
curb, didn't actually pull into the driveway.
I'm not even sure if he pulled all the way into the driveway or just pulled up to
I think
the.
that's what he said. There was a quote. There's
Yeah.
a quote from him that said he dropped
Yeah.
him off. He didn't even pull
Yeah,
into the.
DoorDash didn't go to the back of that house. Even if Xana requested him to go back there to the kitchen door at that time of the morning, no. I had one customer that did request I come to the back door. And the first time I ever did it, I was like, whoa, wait, excuse me. But I noticed it was like I felt I just didn't get a bad vibe. So I walked around there slowly and I knocked, but what it was, he was handicapped. And it was easier for him to get to his back door, right? So then I got to know that's just him. So anytime I delivered to him, but I don't DoorDash at night. I didn't mind going to his back door. But anybody else, I'm not coming to your back door. Why? You're going to grab me and
Right.
snatch me in? I'm in true crime, not happening. So let's watch this, guys. Okay, and notice this 407 camera here. After it comes back here at 407, by 408, it's going to dip down behind the Queen Road Apartments, and you're going to see well, in the other video, you can tell the lights just go out. That's when the car parks back there and allegedly.
So where is this camera at? Which camera is this?
And Salty, it looks
Is
like
this
it's
a
being
Queen Road
cropped off.
apartment?
The left and right sides of the video being cropped off by quite a bit.
Maybe
At least I see orange bars that are cropping it off.
Oh, that's because that's the maybe. See, that's just the way
there's a lot of imagery missing.
Yeah,
But
that's
this
just
is the
way
1330 Linda
Hang
Lane
on.
camera.
Yeah, let me show Joe something because this was what we were just looking at, Joe. Hold on.
1330 Linda Lane.
Yeah.
Remember the angle I was showing you where we saw the Elantra overlay?
Yeah, Linda Lane.
Okay.
It's ironic. Maybe Linda Lane is called Linda Lane because it's in the shape of an L. It just comes in off Taylor. If you come from Taylor, you make a right at the dumpster, and then you're at a dead end.
It's like a reverse L. It's like a backwards L.
Yeah. But yes, so where
it's
we
an
were looking
obtuse L.
Yeah, where we were looking at the overlay angle, right? So you got your bearings now?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. All right, so let me find the video again that I was trying to watch. Hold on.
But I appreciate you showing these videos. To me, I find them very personally compelling to watch. I mean, this is actual evidence, I think, in the case. Not that it answers a ton of questions, but man, if it doesn't give us a real glimpse into that night. Unfortunately, the sounds that are heard on this camera, I think, are often misunderstood as to what they really are.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I think we had a situation when I had 3 or 4 roommates. I think one of the roommates was having sex or something in their room, and we thought they were fighting. It was embarrassing, if I remember right. But sometimes things in a house and sounds that you hear aren't what they really are. They're something else.
Squishy, nothing's been proven yet. Wasn't it proven he wasn't in the area? It might be in a launcher, but I think the killers used it as. Why would they choose a car that looked like Brian Kohberger's? Why is everybody? Why is this whole town out to get Brian Kohberger and set him up? What did he do to piss everybody off? And I'm just like, I just don't know anymore. No, it hasn't been proven anything. This doesn't even prove it was his car, but it proves it's a light-colored sedan is what we're saying. But nothing's been proven yet. We haven't got to trial. But so this is the video that's going to. All right, so see the fencing there, Joe?
Yes.
That's the parking lot that the car was pulling in and out of. Okay, so
I gotcha.
Okay.
I gotcha. I got the location pulled up on my Google Earth.
No, unfortunately the stopwatches are obscured on the bottom two video screens. But
okay.
That's well, we're using Restream, and I can't tell if it's just a thing with the layout that I'm using. I have to play around with that and check it out.
I almost feel like, so that fence that we saw was on our side of the headlights. So the headlights went across the field of vision, left to right and right to left multiple times. And it's almost like he was driving in front of the Queen Road apartments.
He's coming across from the far side of the Queen Road apartment building.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes more sense to me because the fence is up here on our side of where we saw the headlights.
He turns around in that parking lot there, right?
Gotcha. You might notice too that the very first sign of any headlights are hitting kind of high on the tree because the car's coming up in front of the murder house on a hill. And then he comes, it's, but it's pretty much a continually gradual hill as he comes around and then, goes around Queen Road Apartments. Twinkie buildings, as some like to call them.
Right.
Right.
Let me show you guys something here that may help.
It's going to be so interesting to see what the jury gets to see and how they decide it. Because we're just like we're internet sleuths.
Right, exactly. Let me show you what this will probably help if you can see. Okay, remember how Anne spoke of the Ridge Road video? See how Walenta turns into Ridge right here and then back into Walenta. So Ridge is only on the curved part. There's a camera back here that she was referring to, but more back on this. Okay, so Joe, this is Linda Lane, right? And then back here is where that camera is sitting on these apartments, looking down over this parking lot. This is your Queen Road Apartments.
Yeah, and that's where it looks to me like that car is driving back and forth. It doesn't look like he's actually on Linda Lane.
No, he wasn't. It's just called the Linda Lane footage. So that's why I'm going to show the map. Yeah, he's not driving on Linda Lane at all. I'm going to show y'all what he did. So he comes in off Taylor onto King Road. This house right here has a camera facing the intersection. It sees him come in. It goes up these in front of those apartments into this parking lot. That's where you see it turn around and it goes back down. Then it comes back. It goes back. At 407, when it comes back again, what, 405, Jeff? 406, it comes back. At 408, it's that you can get from this parking lot here, you can slip right. There's a little drive, slips right behind these apartments. You park right here and watch the house. This is the parking lot. See, this is where he allegedly parked and was watching the house. So the car comes around here. Over here is 500 Queen. So it comes around the Queen Road Apartments. It's turning around in here. This is 1330 where the footage was at. And then on the last pass through, he comes through all the way around this time. He gets right back here. And right about here, his headlights go completely out. And the car stops. It's not seen or heard again until speeding away at 420.
So what time was the DoorDash?
4-ish. 4, according to the PCA, 4.
So that may have
and it would have been seen coming into the neighborhood by this camera. Here's the house.
So that may have inspired him to drive back and forth a couple extra times. Like while he's screwing up his courage to do what he's going to do.
Right. And if Maddie, go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead. Just gonna say real quick, if I lived in that dead end neighborhood, it's basically like a elaborate cul-de-sac, right? You can only go in Queen, and you got to come. So you come, go, how long you stayed, and how quickly and rapidly you left. But if I live in a dead end neighborhood like that, and I was looking out my window, here comes a car coming through at 3:30 a.m. Here comes that same car at 3:39 a.m. Here comes that same car at 3:56 a.m. Here comes that same car again at 4:05 a.m. This time he sits there for 10 seconds for some odd reason and does it, kind of turns around, goes the opposite way he came in. And then finally at 4:07 a.m. on his final pass, he's coming in again, like with the foot on the gas, even heavier. So something's up with this car. I totally understand why law enforcement wanted to talk to the occupants of this vehicle. And I say occupants to be fair, because that is the word that you put the S. You know, could be occupant, could be occupants. I don't want anybody to accuse me of trying to say, oh, it's just one guy. Sure, it could be. We don't know who's in the car. We don't know if it's just one person. I know one thing: it's easy to keep a secret if you're the only one who knows it.
Exactly. And you know, because they did, that was a big, huge thing in the beginning too. The police said they wanted to speak to the occupants. Well, it's dark. Do they know if it was full of people or just one person? I don't think they had a clue.
And they might be speaking, when they say that, they might be speaking out to not the killer necessarily, but anybody that rode with the killer is just just I'm along for the ride. Like, hey, speak up. If you saw something, if you were with this person, call us.
Yeah.
It's just like the Hoosier Harvestor video in Delphi, though. They couldn't see the driver. They couldn't see the VIN. They couldn't see the plate. So the prosecution challenged that extensively in trial.
Well, this is all going to get challenged extensively, but the difference to me is they didn't wait 5 years to collect this video footage. They were on that shit as soon as it happened.
Right. Kane said he gave this footage on the 14th, the very next day.
Yeah.
He gave them a password to his what's called an NVR, network video recorder. And I think he said there was like 30 days worth of footage. He even mentioned he's got 4 cameras, and I still only account for 3. 2 of them we've seen. The third one is right next to the 1330 Linda Lane camera, pointed in the direction of the dumpster, but sitting right next to 1330. I don't know that there's anybody's seen that one, or if that one has anything worth looking at. Maybe that's why. Where the 4th one is, I have no clue. Maybe one of these days I'll ask him. I haven't talked to him that often, and I realize the sensitivity of everything, but I try to, I've hit him with a few questions here and there, and he's been gracious enough to answer. Not in a ton of detail, but he really doesn't feel like he's got anything to share or to add to this other than he had some cameras.
Well, so in Delphi, they didn't even show the footage. They showed
They took screenshots. They took a
screenshot of what they claimed was video footage from Hoosier Harvester. Then Barbara McDonald confirmed to me on Twitter that they collected it 5 years later. It's like, who the hell still had it 5 years later? But okay, especially a business that usually records on loops, or unless you're like a Kane situation, you got some, whatever. But 5 years later is crazy to me. They were canvassing this area for all kinds. They've got all kinds of car footage, but how good is it? We don't know. You know what I mean? We just don't know how clear. It's circumstantial at best. You can put my car around there all day, but then again, you got my sheath in there, or my DNA in there, I should say.
Which of the girls was it that shot the video of Bridge Guy? That's Libby's camera? So did Libby just shoot one 43-second clip? The public got to see like almost 2 seconds. Is that correct?
That's very close to correct. That's very close to correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was in court for
thinking.
the original video, and I was in court for the quote unquote enhanced video.
So here's my question, and like I said, I would just as happy to debunk as prove anything, but if it's a 43-second clip, did that 43-second clip from her capture the video of him on the bridge and also the audio of him saying down the hill? Is that all inside of one clip?
Yes,
I don't see her having.
Allegedly.
According to the county sheriff, Tony Liggett.
It makes sense because there's no time for her to stop and start the video. Like the creepy guy's coming like, hey, hold on a second. I got to stop and start a new clip here. I just don't see that happening. So if that's the case, she sees the guy who's Richard Allen described, he's wearing those same damn clothes, and she's got down the hill. Who else is going to tell them to go down the hill but the killer where they were found down the hill dead? I mean, it seems like an open and shut to me.
So one of the defense theories is there was another person at the south end of the bridge. So we don't see Bridge Guy in that video, the original 43 seconds. We don't see Bridge Guy in that video until they quote unquote enhance it. And we don't know how they enhanced it. We don't know what the enhancement techniques were. We don't know how they enhanced it. But all of a sudden, there's Bridge Guy standing right behind Abby on the bridge, which we didn't see in the original 43-second video.
So they're trying to say maybe that is Richard Allen as Bridge Guy. He walked halfway across the bridge, saw a couple girls, maybe with a creepy guy standing behind him, and said, "Oh, I'm out of here," and left.
Right.
Okay.
And then,
All right. So
then
Jeff,
the defense says, "Is it possible?" So Tony Liggett was the lead investigator in Delphi, and Tobe Lesenby was the Carroll County Sheriff. Tobe Lesenby ran out of time to be the Carroll County Sheriff. You can only serve so many terms before you have to retire as a sheriff. So Tony Liggett ran as sheriff and was running as sheriff when they arrested Richard Allen. And he said on the stand, when he was questioned by Andy Baldwin, is it possible that there was another man at the south end of the bridge that said down the hill? And Tony Liggett said on the stand on October 24th, day 6 of the trial, no, it's not humanly possible that there was another man at the south end of the bridge, which is a total lie. That's a total lie. There could have been another person standing there, but that's what was testified to, and that's what the jury believed. So we are where we are now. This is a
video of Libby's grandmother explaining what they saw on the video and heard and how. Now, Jeff, I don't know if you've ever saw a picture of Abby standing on the bridge, the other victim Libby took. You clearly, there's nobody behind her. And within seconds of this picture being taken and she makes it to the end of the bridge, boom, he's there. And when she's videoing
in the enhanced video.
Yeah, in the enhanced. But when she's videoing Libby, when Libby's videoing Abby, everybody now is saying the only reason she captured that bridge guy was because he was walking way back here, kind of in line with Abby, but he stepped out of just like a second or two. That's when he was captured, like walking over a tie that was, bad or something, steps over and then comes back. And that is how he was captured, and then zoomed in on and manipulated the video. But this is the grandmother's description, and it's almost as accurate. It almost heard. Let me get it from the beginning of it.
Is that guy still back there? Yeah.
Because it's gonna. I don't know if this is. Okay. And I blocked out the original content creator because I don't like him. He don't like me either. But it's okay.
I know that.
Libby was off of the bridge and just over to the side. She was videoing Abby. You can see her coming, and then you see Libby. She takes her phone and puts it down by her side. It's like she was trying to hide it, and she's standing there. And then Abby, you can see because she's got the phone down, facing down at the gravel, and Abby comes running. You can see her feet, her legs. She runs in front of Libby, and that's when you kind of hear her talk about is that guy still back there, and then Libby's walking around a little bit there, and she's just talking to Abby, saying, this is the end of the trail. There's no place from here. I could tell in her voice that she was nervous. You could tell. And then you can hear him come off the bridge, kind of walk around them. And he said, "Hey girls." And Libby said, "Hey," and that's when you hear the gun, and he says, "Go down the hill."
Asking about the when did Abby maybe say something like, "Don't leave me up here." They must have still been on the bridge at that point.
Yeah, I think I didn't hear anything when she was on the bridge, so it might have been as she was coming off or something.
So did Libby move back a little bit further away from the end of the bridge and maybe was thinking about going down a hill at that point on her own, and then
No, because she said it ends here, and she said it ends here. I think they were waiting for him to come off so they could go back across.
And then when I was just talking to Holman, I think the day before yesterday, he said that like most of the time the bridge guy is actually behind Abby, and then there's just a moment where she kind of, probably right when she's getting close to Libby, because I know how that would work, it opened up a little bit of space where you could see the bridge guy just for a couple seconds smoothly, and then that's probably when she starts putting her phone down, right? Because he's only about 55, 60 feet away.
Because we did listen to it with headphones on, but that was years ago, and they had told us to focus on one thing.
That was it. Did you hear that, Joe? About
Yeah,
how they had
55 to she specifically said 55 to 60 feet. So how do you tell the girls to go down the hill from 55 to 60 feet away? How
And
do
she
you
said
tell
she
them?
wore them special headphones,
Yeah.
and she said they were told to concentrate or focus on a particular part of the video or the audio. It's weird. Danger's comment showed up on my phone, but not on the computer. It's so weird. Did they ever tie the clothing from Bridge Guy to Mr. Allen? No. You know what? No, because none of the clothing they got from his home, the Carhartt jacket, any of the clothing they took from his home, they were not able to tie to the crime scene at all.
And that exact clothing, this was my comment, is what 50 to 75% of men in Indiana wear in Indiana in February. You wear Carhartts, you wear a jacket, you wear a hat. I mean,
And it's that way
there's
in
nothing
Florida.
distinctive. Yeah.
It's that way with Southern men, period. Especially if you're a hunter, fisher, anything is cold outside. Like you gonna come down here, you're gonna see a bunch of dudes in camo and dog boxes on the back of their pickup trucks. It's just everybody's gonna have one.
Sure seems like Richard Allen's wife would have recognized, because obviously it sounded like, down the hill was what the public heard, or guys, but was there more that he said other than that was
we don't know what all was said on that. We
sounds
haven't
like a lot
seen-
was said though.
I don't think the entire 43-second video was ever played in court. I think they said it was, but I don't know if the entire thing was.
Yeah, I don't either. And Bob Mata also thought that it was cut off short, but
So did Lawyer
I
Lee.
honest to God thought, and I was taking notes that day, which is a stretch for me, taking notes. I honest to God thought that I heard from the video, "Guys, how you doing?"
Yeah, that's what
And
the
that
woman just said, right? And they said,
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
girls.
Yeah, that's what Grandma said. Grandma said that's what they heard in the video too. So
Yeah.
it wasn't, the initial comment wasn't "guys down the hill." Guys down the hill was after "guys, how you doing?"
Yeah,
And
they spliced in. They literally did come out and say. So, okay, sources said that at first they came out with "down the hill," then they came in and they added "guys down the hill." They spliced "guys." They cut it like, "Hey guys, guys." And then they added that. They
sure when-
manipulated that whole audio and
Yes.
video
Yep.
so bad, Jeff, it can't even be trusted. And we have deep dove this case for the entire time I've been doing Idaho. But when Idaho got quiet, I was really deep into this case. And Joe and I have done quite a few lives on the Delphi case. Y'all are welcome to go back and review. Most people here know of them. There was just way too many issues in that case that leave way too many questions. Way too many questions.
Do you think they edited
still...
the audio just to spare people from hearing the girls' voices, that they thought it'd be too painful, or
Well,
because they played the girls' voices. They played them when I was there in court.
Grandma
they played
just
the girls'
said,
voices.
No, I mean to the public. All for 5 years, we never heard.
But no, because that's what people wondered. I wondered that. Okay, was there things on there we didn't want to hear or need to hear? But one of the people who attended the trial tried to say you could hear the terror in the girls' voices, but Grandma just said Libby sounded nervous, but not afraid. She just sounded nervous. So it wasn't like you could hear terror in their voices as they were talking to one another at the end of the bridge, because this guy would just follow them or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Right. There was never like a true fear. But I don't think Libby feared a ton of stuff anyway. And I don't think she ever thought somebody was about to do what they were about to do.
So, Jeff, let me ask you, and I'm not asking this critically, I'm just asking it generically and organically. Are you a Richard Allen guilty type of person? Like, is that your inclination? Because that was my inclination when he was first arrested. I'm like, sweet, they caught the guy. They caught the guy that killed 2 teenage girls. And over time, I've migrated to the other position that maybe or maybe not, he's guilty. So where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough, but I have like you probably tell from my questions that I don't know a ton, but I definitely lean towards guilt on this. But it was basically, and it was even solidified, I thought, with the notion of like, okay, if we first see him on a single video clip, because I like I said, I work in video, single video clip, we see him on the bridge. He's got 40 seconds ish to go, 60 feet? Is that what it was? Well, the light bulb camera is 50 feet from Xana's room. That's like, it's the house right next door. So it's not very far. So he's got a time to be seen walking on the bridge, walk towards the girls. Now, unfortunately, the camera's pointed at the ground, but then we hear the interaction followed by down the hill. And I assume that the person who's telling them to go down the hill is the person that took them down the hill and killed them. So my leaning currently, Ben, because it could be contained in one clip and there's time, that sounds like the visual of the guy and the audio of the guy speaking and what he says to me, this is the killer. And I don't see if it's the dead end of a trail. I mean, it seems like if there was a guy already at the end of the trail, the dead end, I think the girls might have turned around in the middle of the bridge and gone the other way.
Well, there was a guy who lived there was a house at the dead end of that trail.
Oh, okay.
There's a house down there. There's a whole,
there is a way to exit out that way. It's just the end of the trail, but it's
down. When you go down the hill, you're literally on a private drive that runs under the Monon High Bridge to that private piece of property that I was just speaking about the house on.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just so much to that case. Like I always tell people too, I see Idaho and Delphi very differently. Right. Of course, everybody wanted to, Kohberger's innocence. And then it was always about his rights. Well, the entire time, Allen's rights were being violated, and they are still being violated. Whether he is actually guilty or innocent, his rights were violated the whole time, but people were ignoring the case because they were too busy trying to figure out all these rabbit holes over here in Idaho. I got bored and disgusted with the rabbit holes in Idaho because they led to nowhere. So I just focused on Delphi. And man, the stuff I was seeing, I was like, this is where people really need to be looking. If you want to look at injustice and do they have the right guy based on what I'm seeing in court filings, right? I based all of that on court filings, not internet rumors or some rabbit hole someone took me down or a tweet I saw, things of that nature. It was literally a ton of research and work and reading those documents and seeing if they made any sense. And that's where I finally got to with Idaho. I have to follow the documents. I have to follow Anne's lead. When she brings me something I can get really behind, then I'm there for it, just like the defense did with Delphi. So far, Anne hasn't done that for me in Idaho yet.
How often do you question what Anne says? Because I feel like she characterizes things not to be clear, but to be clear as she wants you to see it.
Oh, of course.
You know, but I really, there's that quote that from Jodi Arias's defense attorney that I've been posting everywhere because it says a lot to me, where he says, wait, hold on. Oh, come on, I thought I had it real quick. Yeah, defense attorneys have to say certain things. We don't necessarily believe what we're saying, but we have to assert the argument. The client is to direct the defense. So I really think that, it makes me even wonder if when they went after 1800 case law, if that wasn't Brian saying, hey, try this, try this. I think this.
Oh, you think that guy's not all up in his defense action? You know he is, right? 1800 case law. Who the hell? Really? I mean, I listen to everything Ann says. I remember it. I take note, and then I wait to see if she brings it up again later.
Yeah.
And I know what she's failed to bring up again later versus what she has. And I know she's doing her job as well, doing her defense attorney job. But
that shows she's throwing it at the wall to see what'll stick, right?
That still feels that way to me. Yes. Now, I'm going to be really, if she gets that Frank's hearing granted, that's going to be something, because those are rare. At least she got the hearing to hear the motion, the motion to hear the, did I say that back, or the hearing to hear her motion. He hasn't, and he's going to read. I don't know if you've heard, or if all you guys are aware, but they had that closed hearing the other day that we tried to stream all day, but it was closed most of the day. The judge is going to have those transcripts come out. So as soon as we get those, we're going to be doing going over that. Joe and I will put together something where we can maybe do a read through of the transcripts and try to make it make sense as we're reading through it. But yeah, there's still a lot happening.
Salty, if you need, I took the two hearings and put them into Adobe Premiere and did a quick, auto transcript on it. But that is lightning fast to find anything. I mean, I put the word dog in the one hearing.
The two that just happened.
It says there's 10 instances of the word dog in the one hearing. So I mean, it's very quick. So if you ever need I know there's other ways to make a transcript, but this is very fast. I can search it, copy, paste it, put it in the comment just like that.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Actually, that would be great.
Because a lot of time, again, like I said, like in the beginning of all this stuff that I get involved in, it's very verbal. We're talking about it. How many times have you heard somebody say, well, it says in the PCA that Dylan said, it's okay, I'm here to help you. It doesn't say I'm here to help you. It says I'm going to help you. And the word here, 99% of the time people add that. And then when they add that, it sounds like something like maybe a police officer would say, or maybe a deranged sick killer might say to be mean. But if it says, it's okay, I'm going to help you, that very well could be Ethan saying that because Xana's been knocked out on the floor and the killer's still in the bedroom and is just out of view of Ethan. And he's like, oh my gosh, why are you on the floor? What happened?
Could be.
So.
Because you wonder, when I know that Dylan heard this, don't worry, I'm here to help you. Where in relation to her room was that person for her to hear it so clearly? If it wasn't a yelling, if it was just
right. That's why I always picture it like, and I know I'm a Pulp Fiction fan, so I know I'm picturing John Travolta coming out of the bathroom. Bruce Willis is in the kitchen, right? But I picture Ethan coming out of the bathroom because they're about to have DoorDash. She probably told him to go wash his hands, just like my wife does anytime we have Uber Eats or DoorDash. And he's in the bathroom, has done his business, and is coming out of the bathroom. But the killer's already hit her in the head with a hammer, and she's fallen to the floor. All he's got to do is take 2 little steps, and he's hiding kind of tucked in that closet right next to the door. Ethan comes in, sees her on the floor, doesn't know, is she drunk? Did she fall down? Did she pass out? Is she hurt? He leans down to say, it's okay, I'm going to help you. And next thing you know, he's hitting the back of the head with a hammer, which isn't going to be something that Dylan's going to hear. It's just going to be the thud. But as far as I'm concerned, I think Dylan is probably thinking, I hear some crying and I hear it's okay, I'm going to help you. It sounds like a relationship issue across the hall from me. I don't really need to get myself involved in that. I just want to go to bed. The dog's finally quiet upstairs. They're not playing with the dog on Maddie's bed anymore. The hallway sounds like that's resolved. I think I can go to bed now.
Yeah. Before I forget, 12 Gauge, thank you so much for your super chat there and welcome. And we hope it's a good place to come and chill. We've been hearing that lately. And so we appreciate that. And that's what we try to cultivate here, where we got some good discussions going on earlier. People had different opinions, but everybody was respectful. And then Joe and I love that because we can have good conversations with our community, and that's what it's all about, is just discussing all the different aspects here. And I haven't forgotten about you. I do want to schedule up with you this week to get some particulars that we need to talk about, and try to get you on for Sunday's show, if that's okay with you. I'm going to be sending you out an email this afternoon or this evening, actually.
Also, 12 Gauge owes me $2. So could we just, if you want to just forward that on to me? I want my $2. I want my $2.
Thanks for your content, Jeff. I dropped your channel link, but seriously, guys, go and sub up to 12 Gauge and to Jeff. They both have really good content. Let me grab everybody's channels again and put them in there for you guys. Like I said, Jeff's videos are great. It's just to give you, I like people to make up their own minds. Go look at something and I can give you my opinion. Jeff can give you his. Joe can give you his, but then you're going to have your own as well. So go and look, and make up for your own minds about what you see. You may or may not agree with everything out there. That's okay. Let me get his channel.
I hardly ever agree with everything out there, just for the record. I disagree quite often.
Oh, I don't know why I keep hitting the wrong channel when I go to look up your channel, 12 Gauge. I always do the wrong one first.
Yeah, life would be very boring if we just all agreed with everything.
It would. It would.
What would me and my wife fight about?
Who's doing the dishes? Donnie's doing the dishes, so you don't have to fight about it because Donnie's going to do it.
Just let the dog lick everything clean. He's very thorough.
That's just the pre-wash. That's the pre-wash. That's not the actual dishes.
If the family only knew how often the dog is licked. I trust our dishwasher as with the sanitizing device very, very much, but they'd kill me if they only knew.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was. They're talking in my ears. It's like, stop it. Why can't you just be on silent?
I got to tell you, Salty, though, the moment I heard you on 12 Gauge just a few days ago, I don't know why I haven't been listening to you more. You are amazingly clear thinking, clear communicating, and I enjoyed that live you did with 12 so much. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, you're somebody with some common sense that is nice, polite, fair. I mean, all the things that I think we all ought to be to each other. And so you're a breath of fresh air, and it's perfect, right along there with 12, because I feel the same way with him too. And you too, Joe, now that I've met you.
Yeah,
Right
Joe's
on,
great.
Jeff.
Joe's great like that. And Jeff and I, you've been in danger. We've all known each other for a very long time. We've all been in this community, our Idaho community, together for a really long time. And I appreciate you saying that, Jeff. You probably didn't, my channel's growing, so it's not out. It's just now really starting to get out into the algorithm, and people are really starting to realize we even have a channel over here. So, but Joe and I co-host all the time. We're back and forth between my channel and his channel. We cover the same cases, but he deep dives one more than I'll do on mine. Like Lori Vallow, we're doing a lot of that over on his channel. We're doing Idaho a lot over here. Delphi, we were both doing. So we like to bounce back and forth with each other. But we really like it here, and we like the community we're able to cultivate here.
Awesome.
Yeah, I looked Lori Vallow Daybell. Lori Vallow Daybell, directly in the eye. She didn't make eye contact. That's okay. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a case that is really compelling to me. I mean, I go to a LDS church. I'm not a member, and you think I debate heavy on this Idaho case? You ought to hear me. Actually, even this past Sunday, debating with somebody about the LDS religion. But that case with the whole LDS factor, I think is so critical. I think
Oh
unfortunately, I
wow,
think
you're
a
you're
church.
not LDS, but
I'm
you go to an LDS church?
yeah. My wife is
Oh,
LDS, but I'm
Oh,
not.
okay,
So
okay.
I'm more, I had some amazing experiences in a Baptist church, and but when you get married and the Bible says
Right.
you're not supposed to be unequally yoked. We do
Yep.
things together. So anyway, but the whole notion of, Joseph Smith talking to God and Jesus separately, which I think that's a weird thing right there. Cause I'm of the belief that they're one and the same, but this notion, I think, gave too much power to Chad Daybell. And then Lori Vallow also believed that Chad Daybell had this power that he probably would have never even imagined if Joseph Smith hadn't been a factor.
Right.
Because I think there's religions that believe that you can be the next God. That's LDS, and then there's other religions that believe we're gonna worship our creator of all of this forever someday. We're always going to be below God, but the LDS faith can be perceived that you will be the next God to replace. It's like a new CEO coming into the company to take over. It's going to be you, Chad Daybell. Hey, Lori, you want to be second in command? I'm going to be CEO. What do we got to do? Well, we got to get rid of these damn kids. I don't like them. Your kids are driving me nuts. Okay.
I had to mute out real quick, guys. My kiddo called. Nina, this is the video you were telling me about. You did I did a video, and I think Nina did a video on the video. So I'm gonna give Nina a shout out here, and I'll grab her channel link in just a sec. Let me get this started. I haven't seen this yet either, so.
This week, not through the motion to compel process. This was a giant secret. When we get to the FBI, we don't know who did the work. You heard that any of that information is redacted. We don't know who did the work. It's a giant secret. We know that by the time the FBI gets involved, the profile, the text file, that's a snip to use to try to identify somebody is more than twice as big when it gets to the FBI from Othram. We don't know how.
His own DNA was one that was matched from the crime scene. Not asking whether the crime scene DNA was uploaded, but whether he had, as a, for example, customer of one of these companies, uploaded his DNA.
Well, Your Honor, I don't have the JED.com file. I don't have.
You're not asserting that fact, correct?
Your Honor, I'm not sure what the court is asking me.
Well, it goes to whether or not your client has standing to complain about the searches of the databases, because as the state has posited, that wasn't his DNA that was searched. At best, it was his ancestors.
How he cannot.
How is it in violation of his
accused.
rights?
Excuse me?
How is it in violation of his rights?
Well, Your Honor, he's been in custody
You're
for
saying
2
that,
years.
I understand your position, which frankly is not well supported in the law, that if hypothetically here, he went to this crime scene, committed these murders, and left DNA on a piece of evidence, that he now has the ability to object to that evidence being searched for identification purposes. There's no case that suggests that concludes that. And it seems to me to be an extreme position to take in light of the case law. And I'm trying to understand how you get there.
Well, I think Your Honor is asking me about things that I anticipated the state would argue, their abandonment theory. And I would remind the court that the Ross case said that abandonment is a knowing intentional leaving of something, for one thing. For the other thing, I think that the court is asking me to take a position where it feels like burden shifting to me.
No, I'm trying to understand the legal argument and how this is different from example from latent fingerprints.
Well, Your Honor, I think that things like latent fingerprints and like CODIS, there's statutes about CODIS in Idaho, about what's allowed in CODIS. This is a different search. This isn't an STR search. That's what happens in CODIS. This is a different search.
So I'm going now to, I'm sorry, the constitutionality of using the DNA that was allegedly on the knife sheath. And because I understand your argument is twofold. One, your client complains that a search was done of databases of other people to determine whether or not any of them might be related to the person who left the DNA on the knife sheath. That's thing one. Thing two is an objection to the law enforcement searching the DNA by testing it and getting a profile from the knife sheath without a warrant. My question goes to that latter point, understanding the basis for that, because I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
Well, I think in our briefing, Your Honor, that we cited the court to some cases.
I think one concurring opinion in a case that held otherwise.
Get skeletal remains. Sometimes if it's more modern, there's a blood card that was taken at autopsy. But we can work from virtually any form of DNA. So whether it's in the form of bone, blood, tissue for unidentified human remains, or on suspect cases, generally the local crime lab where the offense took place has already done analysis, that short tandem repeat STR testing, and they'll develop a DNA extract or a vial of DNA, and that'll be sent in to us to work from. And that's when we do our sequencing and look at hundreds of thousands of markers of DNA to build a really great profile that can then be used for forensic genetic genealogy. And again, depending on what we're contracted to do, we can either handle it in-house or we deliver the profile to our law enforcement partners for them to begin that analysis on their
we use here, what can't we use? So,
well,
I mean,
it's true across the world right now that the only databases that are available to use for investigative genetic genealogy are GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA. So we cannot access Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, or MyHeritage for law enforcement. And that is because their terms of service all bar that use. And
genetic genealogy and trying the SNP method. Now, they had the SNP made at an outside lab, that may not be the right word. Is that what it is?
That's lawyer.
Right. And that's because, as I mentioned, none of the crime labs yet have the capability to create SNP profiles. So they have to send it to a third-party private lab. That's the case. A couple of things. One, I absolutely think the authorities did the right thing, moving immediately to investigative genetic genealogy when they didn't get that hit in CODIS. That is what I've been advocating for, because that's where we can have the biggest impact on public safety and make the most difference. We can potentially save lives. Stick to those two databases that have notified their users that law enforcement is using those databases and given people the opportunity to opt in or opt out of having their DNA compared. Very powerful law firms and legal teams, and they have vowed to vigorously fight any efforts of law enforcement to get into their databases. I can't say it's impossible, but I think it's highly unlikely.
And speaking about sort of the repercussions that ripple out from some of these things, the Kohberger case has a lot of really important arguments that are being made because they are going to affect future cases. It's very public, and these arguments are going to be made over and over. And I have a question. One of the defense has asked what would probably be pretty standard questions for defense side attorneys to ask, like, show me the searches you did, show me the tree that you created, show me the documents around your investigation, and the position and most importantly, probably all the persons who were found to share sufficient centimorgans so that I can take a look at those and see whether or not they could also be potential suspects in the case. So
do you think Ann wants to know if there could have been other potential relatives that could have been the potential suspect versus her client, and their DNA is so similar?
And the government, the state has opposed that and made the argument that I think makes sense from what you're saying, has made the argument that it isn't really about the search for it. It's about the person. And then when you find the person, you compare their DNA and either it matches or it doesn't. So the process to get there doesn't really matter. But my question is this: if it's so unimportant, why not just produce that? Why not just produce the tree, show people how you got there? Why would you not show your work?
Because we need to protect the privacy of the matches and their extended families. They have not done anything wrong, and they shouldn't be pulled into a trial, and certainly not a high-profile trial like this. So if the court in the Kohberger case follows already established precedent, then they will rule that those are not discoverable because they are not evidence. They are not going to be used against the suspect in a court of law. They are not the reason that he was arrested. That DNA match to his father, and then the swab they took directly from him, are the reason he is being charged with this crime. And so none of what I do or any other genetic genealogist is going to be used against that suspect in any way. It's just a tip. Like I said, it's like if someone called into Crime Stoppers. And so the reason that the prosecutors and DAs have fought so hard to protect the privacy of those matches is because if those identities were to come out, it would be much less likely that anyone would want to upload to GEDmatch and opt in to this type of matching.
Okay. So the other day we went over a court TV piece with Cece, and she explained the process as well on that piece that we watched. And she's a really good resource if you don't, or if you know, because a lot of people weren't familiar with how they even come up with IgG. How is it done? They have questions. So when we played that piece, we got a lot of good feedback on it. Everybody, thanking us for even doing it because it helped them get there a little bit, to understand what's being talked about. So I'm not going to be able to play the whole video right now because I need to go as well. Joe's got to go. I have an appointment to get to in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and stop for the day. Nina, I appreciate your video very much. You guys, I dropped her link in the channel or in the chat there. Go sub up, go give Jeb a sub, and go, of course, Joe as well. And 12 Gauge as well. They got really good content, and I have been over on 12 Gauge's panel. I jumped in the other night. He had a live going, or it was the other morning actually. And I was up early with my coffee and he was on. I was like, okay. So yeah, I went up and we had a great conversation, and I'm going to schedule him to come on and talk with Joe and I, because he has a really good psychological look at the case as well. And I enjoy that aspect of it as well. So I want to get with him and kind of come up with a theme for the shows, some topics that we can, talking points, in other words, that we can all get to. But if you guys have any suggestions and there are certain things you want to hear about, let me know. Thank you all for subbing up. And if you would, consider joining and becoming a member. We only have a few members right now, but we're going to, I'm going to do a members only live probably this weekend. Just to show my appreciation for the ones that are there. And I've already reached out to them, being like, what do you guys want to see? What do you want to do? So we just, always give us your input. We love it. And thanks for coming into chat and just being a part of the conversation.
Yes.
It makes a huge difference, and we so appreciate it. Each and every time we talk about that often, how great you guys are and how supportive you've all have been. So that's something we really do appreciate. You're liking us, subbing up to get your notifications, and just giving us a like means, and a watch just means the world to us. It helps us grow and as a community. So again,
thanks everybody.
Yep. Thanks everybody for being here. Jeff, thanks for coming up and chatting with us. And we'll talk with you again soon. Hopefully we can get Detective John up here one day. I'd love to get a conversation with him up here. So you guys let him know that Salty's asking about him. I might reach out to him. We'll never know. All right, guys. You guys have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow. Much love from Little Yas to each of you.